Alright, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we are back for some more Gwent Rogue Mage, a new Gwent single-player game. And today, well, we have something very interesting in store. Because we have now finished a run with every single deck and every single leader, or rather a key card within those decks. Reynard, Visigoda, a Glace for Bulwark, Dogger, Unseen Elder, Melusine for Savage Fury, and even Detloff, Shawnee, and Queen Meve now, most recently, for Hivemind. But that does mean there is technically still one more category, one more archetype that we have not yet completed. And it is, of course, one that we've talked about a lot thus far. And, well, let's hop in. We know we're going up against the red boss, which I think is a good thing, perhaps, because I think that's the easiest one. And today we are going to use the Chaos deck, plunge deep into the unknown where uncertainty is the only law. Now, we have seen it apparently. The idea with this is that we get both a random key card and a random set of starting normal units in our deck as well. And so I was just thinking about, well, what does this mean in terms of, obviously there's a huge range of value of power you can get in the decks. You know, in many cases you probably would like to get what is almost a carbon copy of one of these decks, because that way you're getting at least cards that follow a similar archetype, whereas if you get just a complete smattering of different stuff, then almost no cards will synergize, and so good luck. And we've also talked a lot about going for a maximum RNG run, and I think that might be this. So let's jump in with Chaos, and so we won't get to know what our key card is. That's random, and we get random normal cards as well. And so I think what we might do is that in the future, if after having finished this, and the other thing that I think we'd said before that we wanted to try to do was do a run in which we maximize our point total and see if we can break 1,000 points, at least during one match, which I think we'll do with Hivemind Detloff, because we came close with our previous attempt there. But I think once we've done that, and once we've tried this maximum RNG run, or maybe two if this goes extremely quickly, then we may, in the future, choose to, if you guys are still interested in seeing more Rogue Mage, we may continue to run more, probably, Chaos runs, and just have a totally random set of stuff, and that way, you know, it keeps things interesting, because we've already done a run for each of the leaders and their preset archetypes, so this feels like perhaps the way in which to keep things most interesting long-term without feeling like, you know, we're doing the same thing over and over again. But, on those occasions, maybe we'll deliberately do what is a fairly well-rounded set of spells like the Masterful Thunder, and Cleanse or Normal Cleanse has been good to us, and usually we have Portal in the last spot there. We mixed it up a little bit last time around for Hivemind, but as I said, I think for this time around we are quite literally just going maximum Chaos, maximum RNG. We have little to no control over anything, and, you know, sure, that means it might not be the most likely to succeed, but that's kind of, you know, we're just embracing the memes, man. We're just embracing the memes. So I think stuff like Rapid Evolution to transform an allied unit into a random one, that's one that we would consider using. I think we've seen some other stuff that's kind of similar to that. Rat Swarm maybe just to give us fodder for Rapid Evolution, but I don't know how Masterful Rapid Evolution works. This whole transform an allied unit into a random one and then repeat this ability 2 more times. I talked about it several times before, but does that just mean that you're changing the same card multiple times, and on net, it's just the final card that matters, and I don't know why that makes a difference. If you're going to immediately override the first card that you transform into, then why does the extra transformation even matter? So that's weird. I mean, maybe we take it rather than the normal Rapid Evolution just to see? Because what better way to test out a new spell than to have no idea what it does and just run with it, right? So I think we do that. Mirror Image is interesting, but it's maybe a little too effective for what we're trying to do here. Portal does have some randomization, because we don't know what our options are going to be. Yes, we do have 3 options, but I think it's maybe Portal, Rat Swarm, and Masterful Rapid Evolution here. I think that might be the maximum RNG-ness. All this other stuff, it's way too predictable. We know we're getting 3 damage. We know we're getting 3 boosts. We know we're improving our consistency. What is this consistency of which you speak? Nonsense. Thunderstorm, I mean, like, yeah, the damage does vary. So I guess that's kind of RNG centric. And then the Masterful Thunder also has some range of damage you can get with it. So again, that's also sort of something, but I think we stick with this. And let's continue. And what is the maximum RNG flask? Because I don't think it's this. I think I have an idea. Not the mulligans, no. All units in our starting deck are upgraded at no too predictable, too straightforward. At the start of your turn, start of your run, remove 2 random bronze cards from your deck. This is probably the one that is maximum RNG. The downside RNG-wise to this is that unfortunately it means that we will not see what 2 of the random bronze units in our deck were. So on one hand, I like it because it feels like it thematically fits. On the other hand, I want to see what all the random cards that we get are, and we won't get to see all of them if we do this, so I'm a little bit on the fence for that reason. Start of each battle, boost a random unit in your hand by a random amount. Maybe we do this. That way we still see all the cards in our starting deck, and we do still have a pretty high RNG thing that we are continuing to use. That's maybe the best middle ground. Yeah, I don't think it's you. I think this makes the most sense for this run specifically. So again, to be abundantly clear, we very much are not trying to... we are not trying to maximize our probability of winning here. No. We are maximizing the RNG. If we win, it is a minor miracle. But we're gonna test our luck, because that is what this is going to come down to. Then I think we also try to specifically tailor our curses to be RNG centric. I don't know if energy really matters, but enemies starting with armor, yeah, maybe. Enemies start with additional points. I mean, that's not a huge factor. Row space reduce. No, what I really want is move the option to skip rewards. Sure. Start with curses in our deck. Maybe we do that. That significantly increases this. Wow. Okay. Now let's not do anything cooldown wise. How's it more difficult? No, I want to see. Where is it? Number of rewards. Yeah, I want this reduced down to 1, because that way we have no choice in the matter. We're just getting 1 reward. That's the only thing we can take, and we can't skip it. So it's all RNG. Maximum upgrade value reduced. I mean, maybe, but turns limited. Map. Oh, we have to cover the map with fog. It has to be RNG, right? All right, so now obviously this is filled way more than it needs to be filled. So let's get rid of the armor, maybe. Let's get rid of the additional points. I guess we'll still keep it at adept if we can make that happen. Want to keep this. What else? What else can we get rid of? Well, just focusing on the stuff that, like, maybe we can dump this. I mean, technically, I suppose that is kind of RNG, right? Maybe we get a reward with higher base power. Maybe we don't. Still on adept now. Out of curiosity. Yeah, that gets us down to apprentice, but that's a pretty big one. Do that? Yeah, that's also a big one. That also makes it so that we are no longer an adept. Same with this. Maybe this is the threshold we're looking for then. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Total maximized RNG. Spells that have, well, very wide range of possibilities. Obviously, the random cards in our deck with Chaos. And a curse in our deck as well. Lose 10 energy and remove this card from our deck. And we won't be able to see anything on the map. We won't be able to skip our rewards. We're only going to have 1 reward to choose from. So it's all up to RNGesus to save us. Let's do it. RNGesus, please be kind. Yeah, no, the fog. Turns out the fog is very much a thing. It's kind of substantial, as it turns out. It means as we predicted, can't see anything map-wise. But most importantly, I think, let's look at our starting deck here. What do we end up with? I think the worst key cards. I think key cards can be an important thing. of course. Possibly the most important thing about our starting deck. I think the worst key cards are probably a Glace, Dogger, and Detloff, just because they are fantastic if you have a deck that is built around them and around them specifically. But if you don't, then they don't have setup and they are potentially useless. So they're the highest risk in that way. Let's see what we got. We got Meave. Okay. I think we can make that work. Oh, and they are not even cards that are necessarily from the starting archetypes. They can be just any card that you've unlocked. Wow. Okay, so Old Spirit of Asleep. It's high base power. War Elephant, also high base power. Sigvald, we wanted to receive some damage, which we could have happen if we play next to War Elephant. Selkirk, damage. One-Eyed Betsy, damage. Dwarven Chariot. Spawn a Rowdy Dwarf. That is really the only thing that we've seen thus far that synergizes with Meave, is stuff that floods our side of the board with a bunch of units. From Berserker for more damage. Warcry gets boosted when we deal damage, or if we have dealt damage to someone. Trigger a Bronze Allied Units Death Wish ability. Do we have any bronze units with Death Wish? We do. We do. We have the Night Wraith. That actually does fall under the Hive Mind archetype, and so that is kind of useful. We have a lot of cards with deploy abilities. I think we do. 1, 2... Okay, no, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't. I take it back. 1, 2, and 3, and... Okay, 4. It's something. And then obviously the curse. So, I mean... I don't know what we were expecting, but it's random. It is random. And I did not know that we were going to see cards that are not from the usual starting deck archetypes. These are ones you'd have to unlock mid-run usually. So that's actually good to know if we are going to do more randomized runs in the future. All right, so it's Gladiator first.
Only one will walk away from this.
We have based him several times before. We do draw into our key card initially. Yes, Meave is still a good card. She just does not have a deck that is as well suited for her. And as I was saying before, I think of all the key cards, she's probably still one of the easier ones to have work because, I mean, she'll still boost cards, right? It still works. It's just that we'd like to have more ways to more quickly get other units on the board, which, well, with Night Wraith, we can actually make that happen. So, you are the shield and damage people person. So, I think Meave is probably still going to be fine. I think we have enough base power and armor on her that we'll be safe there. And Sigvald taking damage, we're actually fine with that. Selkirk's going to be a little bit tough. These are good cards, though. I mean, Night Wraith would usually be our worst, but it's the one card that actually synergizes with me. So we might keep this. You two work well together. Again, yeah, Selkirk is a great card, but just not sure we can really make him work all that well against his opponents. So maybe we'll dump you. Just go for straightforward damage with One-Eyed Betsy. Okay, Spirit Tip, sure. All right, we get the random card getting its power increase at the start of the match, and it is War Elephant. And Mayorlord, actually, it only works with Night Wraith, and we happen to have Night Wraith in hand. So, okay, we'll take it. I suppose we'll take it. So I think Meave is going to get hit. And hit somewhat hard at that. But with her relatively high base power, and with her armor as well, not too concerned about that. Okay, this is going to be hard to have you trigger when they have a bunch of shields. It's kind of their thing. But now we use the Night Wraith to spawn in a bunch of stuff, and then we'll use Mayorlord to trigger the Death Wish. Because, yeah, also we don't have any way to destroy you unless our opponent takes you out. So that is Death Wish in general. Not going to be great. Although, actually, I take that back. War Elephant can destroy you. Okay. Yeah. No, we actually have legitimate synergies. Sort of. Kind of. I mean, I hesitate to say that a little bit, but... Okay, Vandergrift's Blade, boost. This guy's gonna get pretty huge. There's our curse. We do not want to see that. So, and I don't think we really have a way to get rid of it, but that is one of the RNG things. We perhaps got a little too lucky early on, and so it was only fitting that we eventually drew into the curse. But now I think next it is Mayorlord, because we want to get as many units on the board right now, because Meave is about to trigger this. Ooh. Okay, it's going to take a little more time for War Elephant to take you out, then. That's a little bit tricky. That's a little bit tricky. Because you're going to get up to a 4 now. There's the boost from Meave. Retaining Knight. So that's a card they love to use their leader ability with. I mean, if you want to hit... I mean, I guess I'll go for the Rat in that case, but if you want to hit Night Wraith, that'd be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get War Elephants out here as quickly as possible. And we'll put you here, and then we'll put Sigvald next to you on the other side on our next turn, because that's the other card we want to have take some damage. So we'll see how many matches we can last with this deck. How far can we make it with the RNG maximization deck? And we do eventually end up drawing it to Selkirk. So before we use this ability, let's play Sigvald here. Because we want you to be damaged. Put it simply, you are now very strong. But we need you to get taken out. And that has not yet happened. It would have happened had Meave not done her boost yet. Okay. So, I mean, you're definitely still damaged. There is that. We can get rid of your shield, which is going to slow down the rate at which you're getting boosted, but that is still a concern. See, they're on cooldown on their next turn. I mean, we'd like to have a way to break through. We can do this every turn, theoretically. I mean, I think it's likely you're about to get destroyed, but I think we break this, and then we get Selkirk down, and then next turn we might end up having to do the same thing, because this Lady of the Lake is probably going to put a shield on you. So we'll have Sigvald break through, and Selkirk. I mean, granted, Selkirk is basically going to be sacrificing himself in that case, but, you know, we'll see how he fares, I guess. He does not need to be in the melee row in Rogue Mage. There's a Meave boost, which does make Selkirk a little bit stronger. 20 cavalry. Okay. We might need to get a little more aggressive here, because, yeah, we are still in the lead, true. But, there's also... They might have... King Ragnar as their finisher. Is at least one card that they theoretically have in their deck, as to whether it's in their hand or not, who knows. But, yeah, we are also eventually going to have to play this curse. So that's no good. I think that's probably what we'll do last. We don't really have the setup for you. I guess we're going Drummond Berserker here.
What? This? Scratch.
So... if we get rid of your shield, you go up to 7. I mean, Selkirk hits you for 6, you have 1 left, you hit Selkirk back. Selkirk does still destroy you. I think we might go for that. It's not absolutely perfect, but it does kind of still work. A Mad Charge. And yeah, Sigvald does get destroyed. That's not terribly surprising. That was what with their leader ability. And now we can finally get rid of this Night Wraith and this Rat. And we'll just get you down here, right? Yeah, because we just really don't have a way of dealing damage to them right now. So do this. I mean, you're a solid point slam. Do this. Spawn in more rats. Make this War Elephant even bigger. And it's this on our next turn and finish with Curse, pretty much. And that's why I'm a little bit concerned, because from here on out, the cards we're going to play are not going to be great. So, you know, do we maybe Rat Swarm in anticipation of Meave's leader ability on our next turn? Possibly. Possibly. Okay, you will get a death blow. I assume you're going after... Oh? Or not. Or not. Okay, so this turn, Meave will use her ability. Let's go, Warcrier. which unfortunately, as we were saying, with them having a bunch of boosted and shielded cards, we just haven't been able to get anything damaged. So just a 4-point body, you are going to get boosted from Meve, but does that mean we feel the need to Rat Swarm here? Maybe we could still do it on our next turn if we need to. Well, we should do it now if we want to do it, because that means we're going to get the Meve boost on those rats. So it's what? It's 4 energy. I mean, the thing is we have the curse in hand here, so we're about to blow through some more energy on our next turn, so I'd rather not have to do that if we don't absolutely need to. So living a little bit dangerously here. Okay, really want to take out this War Elephant. I'm sorry. I don't think you're going to do that anytime soon. So, yeah, I think we do it. We can't even... We aren't even allowed to pass without playing this a card early. So, hey, Curse. At least we've gotten rid of you as quickly as possible, right? I suppose there's that upside to it. So since we got it at the very beginning of the run, it was going to happen at some point. So if we really felt the need, we could Masterful Evolution. And, still don't get how it works. Does it create 2 additional cards? Maybe that's how it works? Portal. The Rat Swarm. The Rat Swarm is just a guaranteed 4 points. Let's see. If they're going to use Ragnar, it's what? Get boosted by 3 for each shield removed, and they have 3 shields. So that's 9 points. That gets him up to 74. Ragnar himself does not have that much base power. I think we're still fine. Famous last words, of course. But I think we're still fine. It is Ragnar. And that's the power of math. I knew we were fine. I totally knew we were fine. So 1 enemy down. Excuse me? Excuse me. I intended to have this be just 1 card. Alright, run it back. Run is ruined. Yeah, no, I think I saw that we must have reduced the number of options by 1 rather than have the number of options available to us be 1. So, alright, less RNG-centric. Oh, no. Well, Germain is a great pickup here. I mean, both of these are technically Hive Mind cards. I suppose what the options that we pick up are not... I mean, are they always going to be Hive Mind, or is this just a coincidence? Does it actually give us rewards based on our key card, or is it still going to be totally randomized because we're running a Chaos deck? I mean, either way, I think we're adding Germain. That is way too good to pass up. Do I feel a little guilty? Did I legitimately consider stopping and restarting the run because of that? Yes, I 100% absolutely did. Enough so that I'm still considering it right now, but I guess we'll still proceed. And I think we'll take the middle road? I mean, why not? Okay, so once again, we do have 2 options here. So we can have all allies be boosted by 1 in our starting deck, not the ones that get spawned in. Gain 5 energy. We have 25 or less energy, gain 10 energy instead. Oh, with the order ability. Not gonna lie, I read that initially as bottomless giraffe, so obviously we're taking it. I also don't think we've ever used it before, so there's something to be said for that. Alright, it's a random event, so that's fitting. And this time, Soul Bridge is going to force us to pay one of our better cards in any of these situations. I mean, again, Night Wraith in a vacuum is definitely the worst of all these cards. The problem is that it is one of the few cards that synergizes with our deck. And these are all cards that synergize together. War Elephant is one of our better cards. It's basically our only way to trigger this Death Wish. And Sigvald was the other card that we liked getting damaged by the War Elephant. It might have to be Sigvald, though. It might have to be Sigvald. I think so. I think it does have to be. That stinks. Okay. Normal battle now. Yeah, I kind of took the middle option because I was expecting for us to have more options after it, but you know, apparently not. The Nekker big boss. Forget. I think we faced him once before. Does he spawn in a bunch of Thrive Nekkers? Is that his thing? Spawn a Nekker to the same row. Oh yes, and what happens is spawn in a copy of yourself on this row. Copy. Not base copy. Copy. So any boost that that Nekker has, the copied version of it retains those boosts as well. So it's a little deceptive with how powerful that can be. We do have Meve again. Marilorn, if we don't have Night Wraith, is completely useless. Germain is good for combining with Meve, so that's a nice pickup. Let's dump you. And I think we're also going to want to dump you. And it's War Elephant that got the boost. And we still don't really have a great way to deal damage with you. So I guess the deal with the Giraffe, which we are now forevermore going to refer to this as, I guess the deal is that you wait until near the end of the match to see if you happen to use more energy. And that way, if you do find yourself dropping below 25, then you activate this and you're getting a little more energy in return. Whereas if you do it at the beginning, you're pretty much guaranteeing you're probably only going to get 5. So I think we're looking at... Wait, what is your... I don't know how much damage you have. I assume Meve is safe. Turn 1. Then we go Germain. And then we go Dwarven Chariot, gets us as many cards out here as quickly as possible, or Nausicaa Sergeant, so we get a boost from the Dwarven Chariot, although that means you're not going to be down in time for Meve. So, either way, I think we're doing this. Meve is actually not a terrible card to put next to War Elephant, because the Elephant will damage her and she has 2 armor, so obviously we don't want her to get destroyed, but Drone Berserker actually is not a bad option either, because if we do it before it transforms, then we can just damage it enough that it forces the transformation. But anyways, I think it is still going to be Germain first, and well, Germain next. We probably should have gone Meve here and give Germain as much room as possible in the range row, but we'll do this. So obviously this works really well with Meve. That's why they're originally from the same starting deck archetype. And not surprisingly, does this come from their leader ability? Whenever an allied unit is destroyed. Oh, okay, well, we're not really doing damage, so he says as he draws into a damage card. Just ignore that. Just ignore that. Now the question is, do you go Nausicaa Sergeant to try to get more boosts on that, or do you go Dwarven Chariot? It's just boosted, a boost by 2. So in this case, you have 1 more unit that gets boosted by Meve. So it's 1 additional point if we play it this turn, whereas this is 2 additional points if we play it this turn. Once we eventually, long term by the end of the match, so I guess it technically is still you that we want to go for. Meve goes off, and we have all the cows, so that has reasonable power to it. Ah, okay, so they're gonna destroy some of their cards, and that's why this is, that's why those guys are gonna spawn in more Nekkers. It's not entirely reliant upon us doing that for them. So I think... I mean, Selkirk is also a damaging card, obviously. As is the Drone Berserker. We would like to get you down. I think we go... prioritize you. So War Elephant next to Meve. We'll put the Drone Berserker on the other side. Or even... Oh yeah, we can give an allied unit armor. And this does actually work with War Elephants as well. Again, just put the armor on the card that War Elephant is going to damage. Armor on Selkirk is also not bad. But either way, I think we do want to get you down so we can get you off cooldown as often as possible, much like with Meve. I was tempted to try to hit you with Betsy and have you be damaged. Ooh, we can immediately trigger this Death Wish. However, if we do this, we actually have done so much unit spawning that we might flood our rows. We're going to draw into no more cards here, so wait. Germain is going to continue to flood this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the 2 rats here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The row is full. So yeah, that's kind of overkill. as it turns out, as much as we'd like to see that. So I think what we do instead is we go Berserker in anticipation of hitting this War Elephant's ability here. We either do that or we could spawn a Rowdy Dwarf and just have that be the sacrificial lamb for the War Elephants. Might actually do that. I think I will, to tell you the truth. So that way, it's kind of a workaround, flooding ourselves too much. And it's overkill damage on you, which is kind of nice. So it would deal 3 damage. You only have 2 power, so not a problem. Again, we are hitting Meve a little bit, but she had some armor, so she only took 1 damage from it, so we're hoping that's not a huge deal. Okay, more Nekkers. So Meve is about to go off, so if we are planning on playing you, this would be the time to do it. Yes, we still do. Well, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can almost fill. We can basically fill the row with all these units without needing to spawn in stuff with the rat swarm from Night Wraith. I mean, we aren't getting them all down as quickly, so they aren't going to get all as many boosts from Meve as possible. But I think it still means that we act patiently here, and we might as well get Selkirk down here and have him get boosted from Meve, because the more boosts he gets, the stronger he becomes. We don't really want to destroy one of their cards, but I mean, we kind of, sort of, I mean, we could just never use his order ability, I suppose. It's technically an option. We might actually end up doing that. Yeah. Play him so he does get boosted. We'll put the armor on Meve, just to keep her a little bit safer. Putting it on Selkirk, you could make a case for that if we were intending to use his order ability, but as I just said, we may not do that, after all. Okay, that's going to deal damage to us, though. I'm curious who they go after. I think it's going to be Selkirk? Yeah. So if he had not just gotten boosted, then he would have gotten destroyed. I mean, we could still poke one of their cards if we really wanted to, but or we could give him some armor. I mean, if they destroy him, honestly, as we have already established, we are going to run out of board space, so I think we'll take it. Let's see if we do Berserker this turn. You'll drop to a 4, which means the next turn you're off cooldown. So if we put you next to the War Elephant, it's the perfect amount of damage to hit you and have it all negated when you transform. So I think we do this.
What? This? What a scratch.
More armor on Meve, so that when we use this War Elephant ability on our next turn, she'll have all the armor to just tank the hit from that. Okay, well, I destroyed a Nekker and got it back. So I guess it actually is a base copy, or maybe it's just that every time we've seen a Nekker get destroyed, it happens to have been a 1-power Nekker. So that's not been a big factor. So, do they have any damage cards? They do not at the moment. I mean, Selkirk we could use to just hit, like, a Griffin or a Cyclops to have something be damaged so we can get the Warcrier down here, which honestly might be worth doing. Because it is technically an engine that gains value the earlier we play it. But yes, we do that, and we'll sacrifice Selkirk. At this point, he's not doing much for us anyway. So, do this, lose Selkirk, armor to Meve, use War Elephant to transform you and have Meve tank the hit with armor. Like so. You are now getting boosted. Chimera, they have a lot of Nekkers, so I imagine they're consuming one of them and boosting the others. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can fit one more unit in this row, so if we use Germain's ability, we have fully clogged the melee row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have room for 3 more. That means Night Wraith does take up every spot, so I think that means... But then again, you know, do we care about getting every last rat out here? Maybe not. So I guess we'll still do this so that we get you in time for me, but then we'll use Betsy and we will not optimize the Night Wraith. Let's still do this. And we'll use you, I think, again, to deliberately not destroy a card, but just make sure that it is damaged. In case this gets boosted up somehow. There's the Meave boost. That'll be our last one. And we do not want to destroy you, otherwise we're going to get a card summoned out from our deck, which normally would be a good thing. Just that we can't really afford the board space for that right now. So, okay, now it is Night Wraith. And we should use this guy as well. So again, we are not going to spawn in quite as many cards as we had hoped we might do, but anyways, we're missing out on a 1/1 power rat, which is not a big deal. And we can give armor to... At this point, it doesn't really matter much. But I guess Meave. Use you. Get a little bit of energy back. And that does counteract the effect of the curse that we had previously. We have a big lead here. Yes, they still have one more finisher. Not sure what it's going to be, to be honest. I don't remember. But I think we'll be fine here. All right. And that means that once again, we will take the win here. No big deal. Nice. Nekker, big boss, taken care of. And now, purify unit. If we do get a unit that gets locked, that's kind of nice, but that's not something that is very common in Rogue Mage. We can give vitality instead. Damage up to, or initially 3 units, or if we wait until we have Bloodthirst 3, which, given our lack of damage, is very unlikely to ever happen, then we damage every unit in a row. Alternatively, I mean, Marilorn is good if we happen to have the Night Wraith, but it is the only synergy that this has, and it is terrible if we don't have that synergy happening, so I think we actually do want to dump you. All right, 2 matches down, and I figured we are going to find ourselves jumping into an elite battle sooner or later, right? All right, so let's remind ourselves what happens to me when we upgrade her the next time. She spawns into Volunteer on both sides, so basically just helps us to have the setup for the flooding. Now, we have drawn into Meave at the very beginning of both of our matches thus far, so we've had the benefit of being able to flood our rows and get plenty of turns, plenty of times for Meave to trigger her ability. But if we find that, we have to play her pretty late on, and she's not going to, or, if for whatever reason we just can't get as many units on the board, then that is a way to help make that happen. So, okay, I don't think it's that good of all the elite or key card upgrades, but, I mean, it's something. So, we are now going to see ourselves really put to the test here with our random deck. Who will it be? Really? I'm not sure we've ever seen the High Priest dude, the High Praetor, this early on in a run. It felt like at one point in time as though the elite enemies were based on how far you are in a run. Like early half, you tended to get the Mountain King or Maxi. Mid run, you tended to get Failed Experiments, and then toward the end seemed to be when you got this guy. So that's why I'm a little surprised to see him at the beginning, but maybe that was just pure coincidence that kept on happening to us. So here's the tricky thing. We have Night Wraith, we don't have Meave. Night Wraith without Meave is bad. I mean, well, we could use War Elephant to help get rid of it. We do want some damage with this guy, because his deal is that he spawns in these guys initially, and they all have various passive effects. Whenever your opponent plays a non-unit card, boosts self by 2, so like playing special cards gets this boosted. So we do think we need to use a lot of specials in this encounter, then we'd like to get rid of you with an early special so that you don't just proceed to get boosted out of this world. Whenever we play a spell, they lose 4 energy, so you're just an anti-spell person. Whenever a unit appears on the enemy range row, damage it by 2. I mean, you could deliberately do that to have the Night Wraith get hit. Wait, whenever it appears, not played, appears, which means even cards like the cows that Germain spawns in theoretically would get destroyed. So we want to make sure that we play Germain melee row in that case. And you, if we can take you out, we draw a card, which is definitely something that we'd like to find a way to do. Problem is, our spells are, we don't have a damage one. Or at least don't have a guaranteed damage one. So, okay. Given how we have Germain, I think Night Wraith is not necessary. Betsy does give us some damage. But if we're trying to get rid of you, then that's, you know, we're just getting rid of the shield initially. And your ability gets stronger if we destroy some of these guys, right? So usually you want to try to balance out, you know, the timing of destroying them. The ones that gain power over time, maybe you take them out early, but the ones like this that you would like to destroy eventually, but that are not that time sensitive, you try to take this out at/near the end. At the end of your turn, damage random enemy unit by 1. Increase damage by 1 for every missing chapter enforcer. Yeah, so I mean, if we want to take damage with stuff like, I mean, if we still had Night Wraith, then we could have deliberately kind of encouraged them to do that, but I don't think we will. I think the Chariot we might dump as well. Although it does kind of work well with the War Elephant to a certain extent. It's theoretically an option. This does give armor, which does help here. Debatable, but otherwise it's not that good. It's still a 7-point slam, I suppose. Yeah, you know what? I think we'll keep this. I mean, obviously, I'd like to see Meave. And there is the Night Wraith. Okay, so I think it's probably still Germain first. It's either Germain first or it's War Elephant first. We could actually use Germain to spawn in all the 1-power cows and use those as the fodder for the War Elephant to destroy. Because again, it's overkill damage. We're damaging them by 3, but they can only take 1 damage. So we are not really missing out much there. And we're still getting the full effectiveness of the boost. So I think we might opt to do that. Again, we need to go melee, otherwise this guy's going to shut us down there. Okay, but I don't remember what other cards this guy has. Battle formation. Double the base power of all. What? No, don't do that. We were thinking of maybe at some point taking you out. That was mean. We get Meave. Okay, I mean, that's great. We might actually play her in the range row. We might still play her in the range row. I know that means she's going to take 2 damage, but we need a lot of space for Germain. And, I mean, yeah, War Elephant is going to reduce that space to a certain extent, but I think we have stuff that we want to put here, and having Meave hang out there is just logging ourselves in a row that is going to need as much space as it can get. So I think we do so put Meave here, especially since she has armor. Obviously, she's an important card.
Then war you shall have.
Remind me what we have. Okay. Spawn you. Oh. Cancel. Spawn you. It's gonna be probably War Elephant next, although would like to have a bunch of cards on the board for... Oh! Okay, well, don't steal Meave. Steal Germain, that does kind of stink. That does kind of stink, but fortunately we do have Night Wraith, which is also something that can spawn stuff. But yeah, Germain was kind of important. He was kind of important. Yeah, Nausicaa Sergeant before Night Wraith does mean that we get a little bit of extra boosts from that, but I'm still not sure that's worth it when we want to try to get Night Wraith down and also go War Elephants and use it to probably destroy Night Wraith. In fact, that probably means we want to go War Elephant first so that it's can use its order ability as soon as we play the Night Wraith. And that is just in time for Meave's ability here. Okay, ooh, that's a fair bit of damage. Set damage all enemy units with power different than base by 2. Oh, so if you're on base power, then you're fine. War Elephant is going to get hit. Meave is going to get hit a fair bit, actually. That's not good. We are kind of fine with you getting hit, but I was going to go Night Wraith here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that it spawns in. Gets destroyed. Gets down to 7, spawns 2 more in. 9 is this row is full. So, I mean, I guess we'll take it. Again, yes, Nausicaa Sergeant would get boosted if we played that first, but I think we're trying to optimize for Meave here on this turn. And by using War Elephant now, it means we're taking 1 extra damage from the Tormentor, but I think we'll settle for that because we do, again, want to get the spawning happening. Oh, and we destroy you as well, so yeah, we're going to have to actually have more space. Oh yeah, now you're all getting destroyed by the Tormentor. because you're no longer on base power. That's also really bad in either case. Really bad. So I think we're losing. And by that I mean, I don't just mean that we are currently at lower power than our opponent. I mean, this run is probably now lost. That was pretty bad. We lost Jermaine. We lost the War Elephant. Meave has been significantly hindered. This Tormentor, as it turns out, is oh, we need to break stuff out here. Except it's still not really gonna help us much here because we need damage and we don't really have damage except for One-Eyed Betsy. One-Eyed Betsy doesn't have enough damage to make a difference. So yeah, I mean Berserker has a little bit of damage, but I think go Berserker. And we just get really aggressive here. You're gonna lose self by 2 when we use a special. You're gonna make us lose energy. I mean, we have to. We just don't have a choice in the matter. We need some match-saving cards. This would have been great a turn or two ago. And this does have damage. Does have damage. I'd like to go melee row so that we do not have you take damage. On the other hand, kind of trying to go after you. Get rid of your shield, and that means we just want to poke you for a small bit of damage. Or we get rid of this guy. Or you. Not as concerned about you, but I mean, if we do this, then Betsy is capable of destroying you on our next turn. So that's maybe that's something.
They can hide.
But I think we're in trouble. I think we're in a lot of trouble. What's worth? Warcrier is now an engine that can generate points. Tibor. Summoning a unit from our deck, which... Did they really mill our entire deck? Vilgefortz did 1 mill. Tibor would have done another, and we did remove a card from our deck previously. We've also lost the Curse. Wow. Wow. I did not even realize that we were doing that much mill. Or receiving that much mill, however you want to phrase it. So, yeah. Warcrier does get boosted now, so I think we do play you. And I think we still need to spam Portal. And hope and pray for the best here. Hey, Villain Tredenberth is kind of nice, I would say. Yennefer is good for getting rid of shields. That were earlier. That would be... It may still be worth more. This turn, it's 1 damage. Next turn, it's also 1 damage. But it removes your shield. These two guys are pretty evenly lined up, so it would stack pretty well. Villain Tredenberth is just really solid slam. Actually, tell you what, we go Villain Tredenberth. I have an idea. Oh, but the card draw is not going to matter if we don't have anything in our deck. I did have a plan for having you be the card that gets destroyed by Villain Tredenberth, but it doesn't really matter anymore. We no longer have an interest in destroying you, as it turns out. We can use this now and get 10 energy. So that's something, right? I guess. Also, I'm pretty sure we forgot to use that on previous encounter. That's a little unfortunate. The good thing is we didn't have a super powerful card there. Villain Tredenberth is now going to destroy Tibor. I guess we're looking at Nausicaa Sergeant just so that it gets a little more boost. Neve will trigger here, but we are We're running out of power on her and time for her boost to pay off, and obviously we are staring down a humongous deficit. It is not looking like it's about to change anytime soon. But maybe it's time to try the Mass Roll, or maybe Rat Swarm first, then Mass Roll Rapid Evolution after that, and see what comes of it. Because this will give us a lot of rats that will get boosted from me. Granted, it does mean that they're not as good of a target for us to transform, perhaps, but... There's Villain Treadmirth destroying a card. There's us getting our boost. Gaunter. Destroying a... Oh, I mean, we have plenty of doomed units. They're going after Villain Treadmirth, though.
Let us play.
So now... We're not quite going to have time for this last Meave ability, aren't we? Or do we have just enough? So we can destroy you. But at this point, this means we lose less energy when we use a spell. I'm not sure, especially given how we have that treasure that can give us some energy back. I think we'll deal with however much energy we may or may not have at the end of this encounter. I think we need to go all in. Gaunter, we can't destroy you unless we get another card via Likely Portal that could do a little bit more damage on top of what One-Eyed Betsy's going to hit you with. Then we could potentially save Villain Treadmirth. It's probably worth doing. I think what we do is we go Betsy, range row, because Betsy can tank the 2 damage from you. And then whatever we get with Portal, we'll put here. And I don't think we'll go with the transformation, at least not at the moment. So we want to try to get rid of Gaunter. Now you're getting hit. Looking for at least 1 damage. I mean, if destroying Gaunter is the emphasis. And we can make that happen with Teruviel. Or Ballista, but Teruviel is generally better. Both ends by 2. Is more valuable here. Or range row damage. All enemies in a unit are in a row. 1, 2, 3. You have a shield. 4, 5 damage. That's technically the best option. Except if you consider that Gaunter is about to remove a 7 power unit. So that's really 8 points of value total, if you consider that. So... I think we do that. And we'll go melee row just to avoid taking the self-damage.
Waste of arrows, that lot.
Okay. It does boost you as well. Don't read too much into this, because there goes that. We're all... Okay, I mean, that's a different source removal. Meave is gone now, by the way. So... Rat Swarm, Rapid Evolution? Question mark? Not sure we really have many other options here. And Chariot can, and that means if we do that melee, we have to do it melee row, otherwise we run out of space. Or otherwise they immediately get destroyed by you, I mean. So that's not an option. If we do it in the melee row, then we do run out of space there, which means every other card needs to be played in the range row, which means Dwarven Chariot survives, but the dwarf that spawns in does not. Spear Tip survives, but obviously takes the damage. So, is that worth doing? Do we just continue to spam Portal and pray that we get something good? Is there anything here that is still a potential target for us to convert? Teruviel is currently our lowest value card. You can still get boosted from these damage cards, so... yeah, so like, as I said before, it's not looking good. But I do like that. Especially because you're about to get boosted further. So that's decent value, at least. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we just play everything else in this row, then we can have just enough space. We're tied! Except we played one more card than our opponent, and they're about to remove this now. It's Kasargi. So, are we still allowed to use Portal when this is gonna make us technically go into negative energy? I don't know. I think we kind of have to, right? Either that or it's the rapid evolution and we see what happens. But, I mean, we could do that on a Rowdy Dwarf and maybe it saves the day. I don't really know. What the heck? What the heck? Let's do it. What happens? Oh, we just transformed several different cards. Okay. See, Herald is not great. Reveal is now worse. Is now a little bit better. Okay. That is something. Is that enough? I still am not sure. So then we do you. And it's not enough yet, but you're... Of course you're gonna be off cooldown. Of course you're gonna be off cooldown. So anyone that is not on their starting power is going to get damaged. So we should give armor to one of them. In that case, either Villain Trettenmirth, One-Eyed Betsy, or Warcrier. And then Ockfist? I don't know. Is that enough? Almost certainly not, because we know they're going to hit us here, which means we're going to take 1, 2 damage. Which means their last card needs to be worth 3 points, which I imagine it is. So, you know, suppose I'm not terribly surprised that that's not worth very much, but I think they will still win. Ah, that's painful how close I was. I suppose not terribly surprising to see that ultimately the randomized deck goes down to the first elite that we run into. It looked really bad for a while there, but I am surprised that ultimately it was actually as close as it was there. I love how the tip was, take a look at the laboratory to familiarize yourself with the cards. The ones that we don't get to choose if they're in our deck to begin with. Yeah, no, that's not going to do much good for us, I don't think. So, alright. There is our first fully randomized run. And how did we fare? Well, I mean, probably about as well as we expected to do. We've learned a bit more, though, particularly about how the more powerful the advanced and the masterful rapid evolution works. So that at least perhaps gives us a little more know-how going forward. And of course, if we do another fully randomized run, then we will get a totally different key card and different deck, and I think we will. I think we will give it another shot. So you know, that's what happens, right? Ultimately, it's up to RNGesus, and we almost made it out of that elite battle, but not quite. And I thought we were absolutely toast. We actually almost pulled it off. But let's hop into another run here. Let's go with another chaos run, and this time what we're gonna do is, I think we'll still, again, we're trying to go maximum chaos. We are not sacrificing, we are not compromising when it comes to the RNG. And so I think we'll stick with what we have. Rat Swarm, I mean, did happen to work out well with Meave, and yes, it does seem like that is not a bad option to combine with Masterful Rapid Evolution. If we can truly, and we have now learned, we can truly convert, so what, it's a total of 3 cards converted, and if you don't like what one of the random transformations is, you could double down and transform that card again. Otherwise, you just split it across all of your weak 1-power rats, and that's really the ideal way to do it. So I think we'll still stick with this. Is it the best setup? No. And I'm deliberately not doing the best setup. I'm deliberately maximizing RNG, because that's what it's all about. And that's why I think we will, once again, stick with the experimental distillate. But what maybe what went wrong, is that we made it so that we could actually choose the cards that we get as our rewards. So we do this, and then maybe we turn off the, what was one of the other kind of nasty ones. Like, get rid of the curse, maybe? And then we're still at Adept. I mean, we could keep it. And then we could drop something else, but I think all the other stuff was... those were things we wanted to keep for maximum RNG-ness. So yeah, I think the curse makes the most sense to dump. Okay, so let's do this. our second attempt at a maximum RNG run. Will we do better this time around? What kind of deck will we have this time around? So I think we actually did okay from a deck standpoint last time. But this time, it is... no. Okay, I think a Glace is one of the worst key cards to get for a randomized one because she requires that you have boosts in the rest of your deck. And with the rest of our deck being randomized, there is no guarantee that we are going to have boosts. Whereas, at least for me, sure, we might not have had a bunch of ways to spawn additional cards in our deck, but we were at least going to have some cards. So, there were some synergies to be had. I mean, a Glace does at least boost herself a little bit. And there's a chance with our flask that we took that she might be the recipient of some of that. But, yeah. Lock with damage, boost on self and a little bit of damage, consumption with no death wish, armor, boost on self and damage, boost on self and potentially damage, boost on self. Quite literally 0 synergies for a Glace. That's why I said she was potentially going to be the one of, if not the worst, key cards to get in a randomized run. So this deck looks... I mean, the damage is actually not bad. If we had Dogger as our key card, this would be fundamentally much, much better. But alas, we don't, and so it isn't. But that's what we signed up for. And so we will see if we can find a way to still make this work. And I think it might mean that we just don't really care much about our key card, because Morkvarg is probably the best card in our deck, not a Glace. So if they have one card that gets highly boosted, we can go after it with Morkvarg. Armor, it's not a huge factor, although this does have high enough base power that it would trigger the Thrive on you and on you. You are an engine that we like to play early, so that's not a bad thing to play first. I think it's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever else we draw into and finish with Morkvarg. They go wide though, not tall, if I remember correctly. A bunch of their wargs that they spawn in. So, I mean, that can help us potentially get rid of some of them, but let's see if we can do. I mean, there is a Glace. I mean, she's our key card, so I feel obligated to include her, to keep her in our starting hand, but as I just said, Morkvarg is probably a better card than her. We've quite literally no ways to further boost her up. But if we keep her in our starting hand, we might get our flask to trigger on her, in which case she's not atrocious. I mean, she's still, what, a 9 worst case scenario, which is something. She will trigger Thrive, as things currently stand. So I guess we do this. And she was the card that got the hand boost. Okay, so now she's at least decent. She's at least decent. And, ooh, Yennefer could be amazing against this enemy. Yennefer could be, like, I mean, absolutely amazing. But let's start with the Redanian Knight. Earlier we play you, the better. Earlier we play Yennefer, the better as well, but we want to wait until they have units on the board. Okay, well, they have a Wyvern as well. It'll deal damage and shut down our engine, but deal damage to them. Now, the reason why we like Yennefer is because when they have a bunch of cards that are around the same amount of power, it means that Yennefer will basically always hit the highest power card, but eventually, once the highest power card gets to the point where it is tied with every other card or numerous cards, then she's hitting a bunch of cards until you get to the point where everything is at, hopefully, 1 power, and she just destroys them all in 1 hit, which is potentially not that difficult, given how our opponent here is going to be trying to play wide. So I think what we'll do is, actually, before we do this, next turn these will both be 2, assuming they play a card that's going to trigger this Thrive. So does this happen every turn? No, it happens every 2 turns. I think we get Thrive down here first. We can use you, if our opponent does get a card that's highly boosted, we can use you to drop it down until it's damaged, and that makes it easier for us to use Yen. Yen also triggers this Thrive, which is another reason why, I mean, it's not super high priority, but another reason why I opted not to to start with Yen. Okay, so you're at 4 power. So that means Yen would go after you. And we need to weaken you a bit. I think we probably start doing that now. Either that or we use Wyvern. Yeah, to hit you and get more Thrive on the board. And once again, try to get everything tied at the same amount of power. Okay. That's a 4, which again is not ideal. Oh, don't boost it up to a 5. Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, now we will break out Yen. Again, the longer we have her out, the better. She will trigger the Thrives of the units that we have already played thus far. She's gonna hit you. And we want to get as many things tied at 4, or eventually down to 2, really, to set her up most effectively. So we hate a high base power card like that bear. Could lock this Brockvar Hunter because it is going to give them a little more damage. And it would trigger our Thrive when we use you. Earlier we played, the more armor we're going to get, which is technically another thing that is time sensitive. You two are the most time sensitive, but let's guess we'll go with you. Technically, it means we're gonna miss out on 1 point of Thrive on you, but you know, we'll live. We want to shut down their damage. So do that. Do this. So we have to break through this Raging Bear before we're gonna start hitting multiple cards. And unfortunately, it's base power, which means that Morkvarg doesn't really work. Now it just flat out does not work at all on it. Please do not hit Yennefer. She has done nothing wrong. Okay, so now we go Mantlet. It is Rolex the melee row in multiplayer Gwent, but not in Rogue Mage. Okay. Just keeping an eye on our energy and potential options here. Stop playing high base power cards. I mean, you are boosted, so we could potentially use Morkvarg on you, but it's not amazing. Spotter can potentially trigger Thrive, but it's kind of unlikely. Maybe we'll give that a shot. So I think we might still be waiting for Morkvarg. Hit something bigger. Morkvarg would drop you down to a 4, which means we'd hit 2 cards on 6 power with Yennefer. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not terrible. Maybe we still do that then. I was kind of hoping to save Morkvarg for later, but there's something to be said for it. There is something to be said for it. So now we're hitting for 2 damage, and if they don't play anything higher, we're going to hit for 2 damage again on our next turn, and maybe 3 damage once we hit all the 4s on the turn after that. Or 4 damage once we hit all the 4s. Okay. Love it when you play low power cards like that, but I don't like it when you hit Yennefer. Please leave Yennefer alone. Now we will go Spotter. Also a card that is Rolex in the melee row in multiplayer Gwent, but not here. Okay, that's not very helpful. Little more damage. We don't have a way to boost Yennefer, or at least not a guaranteed way to boost Yennefer, which is, again, if we were using a more standard set of spells, we'd do that now, but we can't. Because RNG. Do you have damage? You're going to consume Yennefer. That stinks. You're not going to destroy Yennefer. You are quite literally going to eat Yennefer. That's just rude. That's just disrespectful at that point. So, we should probably use Portal just in case. Ooh. Ooh. That's pretty sweet. That also would have helped Yennefer a lot, potentially, but Yennefer is no more. We do not speak of Yennefer.
Finally.
Finally. Alright, Wolfpack. It's not that big. And we don't really care about your consumption, because you don't have any Death Wish. But a Glace, fortunately, we got the starting hand boost on her.
Drink this, you'll feel better.
So we can double her boost here. And, you know, I guess That's probably enough, right? Even if they have Axel, I think we're still good. He's going to boost it from all the beasts. But we'll hold on. Alright, so, you know, as we were saying, most of the time our key card is perhaps not really our key card. But that time we lucked out a little bit. And now we can see we have one card to add to our deck. Nekker does benefit from combining with a Glace. So that is something to be said. And Ulfhedden, although it doesn't synergize with a Glace, is a decent card. So I think we add you. Higher base power to start off with as well. Little bonus. Little RNG bonus. Okay, last time we tried the middle route, and it forced us down anyway, and we didn't have options. But we're gonna try it anyway. We're gonna do it again, and this time it's gonna work. This time it's gonna work, and we're gonna get an amazing treasure option for us. One choice, and we're gonna love it. Upgrade the first unit you play in each battle by 2. It's passive. What do we have that could benefit from that? In a Glace, sort of. She's doubling her boosts, not her base power, her boosts. I mean, just having cards that can help us trigger Thrive more easily. We don't actually want to do it to the Thrive cards. We want to do it to cards that can more easily trigger the Thrive. And maybe the Apiarian Phantom, just so that it can be on the board longer and get itself boosted up longer before it potentially gets removed and makes it safer. I think that, or Yennefer, just so that she doesn't get destroyed like last time. I mean, none of those things are amazing, but theoretically, and also, of course, sometimes we're not going to have a great card to play. And that's what a place of power, not going straight into an elite battle? To what do I owe the pleasure? Transform a card. Now that's a prospect. That's an interesting prospect. We have some cards that make no sense in this deck, or are just not, like Slizzard in particular has no synergies whatsoever with our other cards. It's great in Hive Minds, with Detloff in particular, but we don't have Detloff and we have no Death Wish, so I think we go for that. Because we spent a little bit of energy, but I think we'll be fine. I mean, famous last words, but we transform you, and we hope we get something that helps us more. Ooh. Roach. Roach is an interesting one. Okay, random event. Let's take a look here. Just so we didn't actually see the description on Roach, but disloyal. So we played on our opponent's side of the board, but play the top 2 cards from our deck. Now, definitely don't play him first when we have the Master Blacksmith. Otherwise, that is going to backfire because we don't want him to have much power. We are giving our opponent 3 power to play 2 cards from our deck, but all in all, of course, the cards we're playing should be worth a lot more than 3 power, so should be on net a pretty big benefit to us, and it's definitely better than the Slizzard, so I like that. To the event we go. And it is the Forge. I mean, we have the Blacksmith. Upgrade a unit by 2, lose 4 energy. I mean, we do, they're thematically quite similar, which I suppose makes sense. But as we were just saying, I mean, we have some cards that we kind of like doing that to, but it's not critically important. So I'm not really sure that, I mean, like, we could do it to Yennefer. Would. I mean, the first one's not that expensive. It's 4 energy. I guess we'll do the first one, and then I think we can continue to go further, but it's going to cost more. So do it to Yennefer. Now we lose 6. We're on 40 at the moment. Or we do it to Yennefer again, potentially. Or at this point, maybe to the Apiarian Phantom. We don't need Yen to be a huge point slam. She's here for the damage. And we just need her to be strong enough that she can stay on the board long enough. As we saw last time, if our opponent focuses on her, they can eventually take her out. So her survivability is useful, but same could be said for the Apiarian Phantom to a slightly different extent. Might still prefer to upgrade Yennefer further if we are going to do it. I think we'll do it. That'll definitely be the last one. That is enough. That is enough. Normal battle. And this looks familiar. Is history repeating itself? Perhaps. Perhaps. Okay, well, we were saying we were considering trying to upgrade the base power on the Apiarian Phantom, well, we do have a way to upgrade base power in the future with this blacksmith. And if we play Apiarian Phantom first, then that's what will happen. And it is a good early match engine, so that does make sense. Otherwise, Redanian Knight would be the first card we'd play, and that also is a card we'd like to play early, and also a card that, I mean, it could benefit a little bit from a base power increase, but not quite as much so. Fuka, we can at least trigger your Thrive on Nenika, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot. Is that reason enough to swap you out? Maybe. Okay, yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. I mean, we could dump Redanian Knight. We have the card we want to increase the base. I mean, we could even play Yennefer first if we really wanted to further increase her base power, but I think 10 is probably sufficient with her, and now we'd like to upgrade other cards instead. I think we dump you. And we get a Glace. Okay, again, we don't really have synergies, and of course, Yennefer gets the hand boost. So we'll go Apiarian Phantom first. That will receive the base power upgrade. Apiarian Phantom is Rolock's melee row in multiplayer Gwent, not in Rogue Mage, but we'll put it there anyway. So you gain 1 power every turn, which means you're functionally just about the same as the Redanian Knight. You do have Thrive now. Several Thrive cards now. Ooh. So this guy, we don't want to destroy the Nekkers. Don't want to destroy anything, otherwise he'll just spawn in more Nekkers. On the other hand, Yennefer is fantastic at weakening cards without destroying them. So she is actually a great counter to what they're trying to do. On the other hand, kind of like to get more Thrive down here first before we play our 16 power card. So I think we'll sneak in the Fuka first. And Nenika does work with the Glace, so yeah, we actually do finally have set up for a Glace. We initially did not. Okay, we could... no, we don't have anything that's damaged at the moment, so we can't lock unless we were to damage you with the Phantom, which shuts down its boosting. It's basically gets boosted until you use the order. But let's... We could Wyvern and damage you that way. I mean, it does make it easier for you to trigger the Thrive, so it probably would get triggered on their next turn, but if it doesn't, then we can lock you with Jenga. So, guess we'll do this. So it's either that or it's Yennefer, and either way it's damage. And either way it's hitting you. Okay, now that's not great. Don't like the high base power cards. As we were saying before, that does make matters more difficult for Yen. You're another card that we'd like to play early, but I think Yen is... I mean, you're 1 point per turn guaranteed unless you get damaged. You're at least 1 point per turn, possibly more. So I think we do still go with Yen here. I think we prioritize you.
There'll be nothing to pick up when I'm done with you.
Definitely trigger the Thrives, hit you, and we might even use Ulfhedden on our next turn, drop you down to a 4, and then that might allow Yennefer to get a lot more damage than she currently has. Okay, more Nekkers. Ooh. Roach to play 2 cards from our deck. Also, for what it's worth, we need to be mindful of... We need to have enough cards in our deck to have Roach trigger, because if we find ourselves removing cards from our deck because we don't like them, then it might mean that Roach just does nothing, and we just give them 3 points, which is obviously not good. But we have 3 cards in our deck we will get to with Roach, so that's still fine. We could lock that Fuka if we wanted to. We could damage this Griffin with Ulfhedden if we wanted to, and then Yennefer is dealing 2 damage every turn in that case. I think we might actually lock you. And that is tempting to get you all on the same number, but I think we lock you.
You're coming with me, dead or alive.
Triggers Thrive. Okay, well there's more 4s. And, I mean, we could still fed in here. Well, we do want to get Redanian Knight down here as quickly as possible. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. And we'll just continue to whittle you down. We could use Apiarian Phantom to have gotten you all onto 4s. I mean, damaging Thrive cards, for what it's worth, in general, is not a great idea. They're gonna take you out? No, they're gonna take out Okay, a Thrive card. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to get the boost on, or base power increase on Yennefer, so that she was not going to get destroyed by whatever damaging cards our opponent might play. But now... what are we going to get with Roach? Potentially Morkvarg, Spotter, or Mantlet. We have some boosted cards. I mean, if we use Morkvarg on a Nekker, it's destroying it, because to damage a 1-power unit means you're destroying it. Yeah, it's actually not a great time for Morkvarg. So we might wait on that. Photo Fed you, and then just hit a bunch of people at 4. I mean, they're going to trigger Thrive, but yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll see. So we hit you, drop you to 3. Means Yennefer is hitting 1, 2, 3 cards here. So when everyone is tied, that's the ideal case for Yennefer. I mean, she can potentially destroy everything in one turn that way, but that's not really what we want to do against this opponent. Otherwise, they're just going to spawn in a bunch of Nekkers again. And now, of course, they boost this guy. However, that means this could be a half-decent target for Morkvarg, which we might get if we were to use Vernon Roach here. So I think that's probably what we do. I think we probably give them Roach. And naturally, the one card that we don't get is Morkvarg. So be it. Okay, whoa, that's actually pretty decent. And Mantlet gives us armor with the 2 remaining cards that we will have. Okay, Old Spear Tip. Oh, that's a very high base power card. That's going to make it very hard to chain damage with Yennefer. But now we can go Nenneke and a Glace synergies, so both of them have Zeal. The order of operations doesn't matter too much.
You're wounded. Again.
And use you. Dropping to 9. Yeah, it still doesn't really make much of a difference. I think we're just waiting as long as possible on that to maximize the amount of boosts you get. Okay. That's a good point, Slam. Now it's a Glace. And with a Glace,
We'll be fine.
we give her all the boosts from Nenneke. And then double those boosts. And so we will use Apiary and Phantom damage here. And I mean, I guess we'll hit you. Unfortunately, it doesn't really set up Yennefer for anything else. Don't want to destroy stuff, otherwise they'll spawn things to replace those cards. So, yes, when they have all these Thrive Engines on the board, it's a little bit scary because they could get a lot of boosts from whatever they play here, like the Spear Tip and Goliath plays were both very good. But I think we still have enough of a margin here that we're feeling okay about this. Yeah, it's Pugo. But we'll still take the win. And so, yeah, Yennefer, I think in general, is really the card that we're building around here. Not so much a Glace. And let's see, we can either add Gimpy. Would have actually been extremely effective at hitting all the Nekkers in that previous fight, although it might have destroyed some of them and had them all come back. Or remove, no, we're not removing Morkvarg. We're adding you. So yeah, we are actually more of a damage deck than a boosting deck, for sure. We just happen to have a Glace. It's a normal battle. For a second I thought that was going to be an elite battle, so I'm happy to see it's just a normal one. Don't worry. Assassin now, he's a damaging guy. His deal at the start of your turn, destroy a random enemy unit with 2 or less power. Okay, so we want to make sure we have high enough power that that's not a factor. We have a Glace plus Nenneke again. Wyvern, I think we can probably do better. Wolfhead for damage. Jenga, I mean, do we have... That actually would have been probably better for Jenga. So we want just a little poke of damage. Get the Bloodthirst and lock here. With you. But we might still settle for this. It's gonna be a little hard to trigger that, basically. That's all I'm saying, but I think we stick with it. And we're drawn to Yennefer, which means suddenly that is much easier for us to sustain. And remember that whatever we play first here is going to get its base power increased. Morkvar got the random hand boost. What do we want to have the base power increased? I mean, Yennefer, we've already upgraded the energy that we spent twice. But, I mean, we could upgrade her further. The reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to continue to do that is because if our opponents ever break out something like Villain Trettenmirth or steal one of our cards, then, like with the guy who steals a card that has Spine, creates a copy of it, then having a higher base power Yennefer is kind of inviting that. But also on turn 1, she's not doing anything because they don't have any units. Really, no one is doing anything on turn 1. Nekker could just hang around and wait to use her order charges. I guess it's still Yennefer.
You crossed the wrong sorceress.
So again, Yennefer really is our key card here. The armor is going to be annoying.
Least experiment leaden stockings.
Because that can slow Yen. Kind of nice to lock you, to be honest. But we need the... Oh, well, we can. Actually, we can. Yeah. We go Yen, and then we go Jenga after that. I think that's the play. I think that is. Because otherwise, them getting armor was just going to make it harder to maximize the damage on Yen. Okay, the longship will deal damage to us, of course. Gimpy is more damage. Again, we are technically, at this point, a damage deck. But maybe we go Spotter and just try to get boosted to sort of circumvent the damage there. I think everything else we still want to wait a bit on. Okay, not great. Then you two are tied at 5. Obviously you have armor, so that's still a little bit problematic because we're going to damage you, drop you down to 4. And you're, well, if you get rid of the armor, then that... Oh no. You've been reworked in multiplayer Gwents. So that's what you do in multiplayer Gwents, is steal armor from your own cards and get boosted in the process, which would meant you would all be a 5 or 5/5/4. But not the case anymore. Mantlet actually can counter them quite effectively, so I think we will probably opt to play that. It is stronger if it has armor. That's the barricade ability. It will give 1 armor rather than 2 armor to everyone, but that is just enough to avoid taking the damage from this longship, so that is still useful. As I said, we hit both of them, but we're hitting the armor on that longship, so we're not quite lining everyone up at the same number just yet. Malane damaging 4 enemy units by 1 rather than loading up on the damage, which is a little surprising because they might have been able to set up their ability there. Okay, we get another Roach, and at this point it's likely to be Thrive / in general cards that take some time to build up. Now, Redaining Knight is just going to get stolen at this point, I think, right? Because it's 2 is the threshold. So, I mean, there's kind of no way of avoiding that. Maybe that means we save Roach for the very end, and if they do... If we end up getting Redaining Knight, it means we're at least... Well, it means we're minimizing the amount of time they have to get boosted from it. On the other hand, we would like to get these cards down here quickly, because they are cards that all generate value over time. So... yeah. I think we'll still play him. And fortunately, we did not get the Redaining Knight, so that's good. Then for you, let's drop you down. And let's get you down here. You get 1 armor from Mantlet, the armor gets destroyed from the longship. So now they have 2 cards tied at 4. Which means Yen's dealing 2 damage. They've now 4 cards tied at, or 5 cards tied at 3. So if they play a card that is 3 power or less, then we are just dealing huge damage with Yen. So she's now finally started to get some solid setup here. Okay, they do play something that's bigger than that, but we might be able to break through it a bit. They're focusing on Yen, understandably. But if we go for something like Ulfhedden or Morkvarg drops you to 4. Ulfhedden, what, deals 3 damage, which drops you to, what, 5, 1 armor. 5, 4, yeah, you know, Ulfhedden is not a bad idea here. Ulfhedden does not seem like a bad idea here, because having every single card be on 3 power is exactly what we're looking for 6 damage per turn from Yen. So eventually, if they just didn't play anything bigger than this, then we could destroy all of them on the turn. Like, I'd love if they're playing low power cards here. So we could even go Gimpy here and destroy you, and then destroy almost every other card that they have. So I think we probably do that.
No one wanted these ones, so I up and took them.
Oh, and they got rid of our mantlets, so no more armor, which means we are actually taking damage from you. But you may not last long, because Yennefer is just decimating them at this point. They technically can... Is it destroy or is it steal? It's destroy. Okay. Close to destroying Yen. They will destroy Yen at the end of this turn. But, unfortunately, you're on 3. Morkvarg can drop you down to 2, but we can't quite wipe the entire board with Yennefer. Unfortunately. I really want to, but we can't quite make it happen. So I don't think Morkvarg is going to get much value, no matter when we play him, just because it seems like they're a pure damage deck, and so, it's not like they're going to get much in the way of boosting. That's what Morkvarg counters. So I think we just play him now and hit you, and we settle for the fact that Yen is unfortunately going to get destroyed at the end of this turn. And just hit you. Everyone's on 1. It's so close. But the bleed is gonna mean she's gonna get taken out here. Unless you happen to hit someone. Oh, well, you might destroy someone else. Instead, it would be silly to do so. But, oh no, Yen's getting destroyed altogether from Wild Boar of the Sea. Okay. So, I mean, they're actually dealing pretty solid damage as well. But, 2 damage decks facing off against each other. Now it's gonna be Nekker to set up a Glace. And you should survive long enough to make that happen. I would assume. I would think. You are going to take 1 damage from the longship, yes. Zoltan, they're going the boosting route actually in the range row rather than the damaging route. You can destroy either of these guys with your leader ability as well, which I assume you will do. Yep. Okay, so, but that's not as important as this is.
Lie still. You've not yet recovered.
Okay, so it's, what? 21 point lead's gonna actually drop down to 19, and then we know you're gonna destroy that, so that's 18. How do you feel about that? Do they have... I mean, if they're all damage and not much in the way of boosting, it's a little bit harder for them to catch us, theoretically. Theoretically, we might still be fine here, but we are playing with fire a little bit. Their finisher is Gimpy. But we're fine. And that was apparently our 100th battle that we just won. So that's cool, too. Because that is an achievement. An assassin down, no energy spent. We did spend a lot of energy previously to upgrade Yennefer, so I think, to the extent that we can avoid having to spend energy, that would be useful. Anna Stringer is a great boosting card, so that would work well with a Glace, but she boosts over time, which means that a Glace would need to get played earlier and played next to Anna Stringer, whereas at the moment we're, for the most part, waiting to play a Glace at the very end, so that she's harder for them to answer. Or we could get rid of Verdania Knight, which is probably the weakest card in our deck at this point. So the question is, do we try to force ourselves into building around our key card that is not actually the most important card in our deck, Yennefer is, or do we just remove the weakest card in our deck? And you're not bad, but we also don't really have much in the way of methods to get you inspired outside of using one of Nenneker's charges. That's really it. We're also saying that Roach, at the moment, if we play him at the end, there's going to be 3 cards left in our deck. We'll play 2 of them. 1 will remain unused. So if we remove a card, then that means we are playing every single card. And that's great for consistency purposes. It's not so great if our opponent has a way to mess with the number of cards in our deck, or if we ever have the chance to draw a card. So I'm a little bit conflicted on that front. I think we might still drop you, though, because I think it's easier to add a card that's decent than it is to remove your worst card. I think the fact that this is our worst card means we should definitely get rid of it. What's next? Okay, the sound effects are a little too dramatic. When we don't see what's coming next, it also really makes it sound like that's going to be an elite battle. But, alright. Let's jump in. Who will we find this time? It is the Ice Giants. Row effects. And some self-destruction, right? He does have a hard version, I think. Is this it? Theoretically, it's not. So yeah, destroy an allied unit, then boost another allied unit by the destroyed unit's power. Spawn Frost in the same duration on an enemy row. We do have Yennefer early. Remember, card we play first is getting a space power increase. I mean, with Spotter is perhaps now the worst card in our deck. So, I mean, you could... On one hand, you could make a case, it's a bad card. Upgrade it further by playing it first. On the other hand, you could say, it's a bad card. It's the next thing you'd like to remove. Upgrade something else instead, like either Yennefer, or another upgrade to Apiarian Phantom. I think we're gonna mulligan you. Because this is... I think definitely better. I think we'll stick with this. Okay. Lock is not bad. Gimpy was the recipient of the random boost. I think we'll start with the Apiarian Phantom. I think will that be the card that gets the base power upgrade. It's at 8. That's now pretty solid. That's pretty tough for them to remove, especially because that's what he starts at, but he will get boosted by 1 every turn. Fuka. I don't remember that being a card that you've played. But, I mean, Yennefer plus Gimpy would be enough to destroy it, but we kind of need to destroy it in one fell swoop. Otherwise, if we weaken it without destroying it, then the Thrive is very easy for them to trigger. We could use Apiarian Phantom and then follow up with Yennefer, and that would work. Is that worth doing? It shuts down our engine, but it takes out one of theirs. This is 1 point per turn. That's potentially 2 points per turn, but a little less sustainable than this is. We'll do it. I don't love it, but you can make a case for it, so we'll do it. Also, technically, we should row stack if we're going against an enemy that has row effects. Okay. We had a Glace. Now we have Nekker, so we have the synergies there. We could damage and lock. Might be the best approach for the moment. You're no longer an engine. You can no longer use your damage. That was a one-time thing. We do this. Okay, move something to the other row. Honestly, as I said, we, if anything, want to row stack, so that's kind of fine. Alright, you're already locked. I was gonna say, can we destroy you? But, I mean, we could, potentially. Maybe, but... Ulfhedden plus Yen, I think, does, but probably have better use cases for that. Might be time to check out Vernon Roach, especially because he'd be on 3, you're on 3, so we'd get 2 damage out of it. Yeah, and we might get an engine, or a card that's kind of useful early on out of doing that, so I think it is worth giving that a shot. Would have preferred to have gotten this in the other order, but so be it. That's not great. Still would have triggered the Thrive, and it looks a little familiar, right? Okay, now more Rock Barrage. Okay, this time I'm just going to destroy the Fuka altogether. And did we destroy their only unit the first time they tried to use their leader ability, so it just didn't work? I'm pretty sure that's what happened. We can get more Thrive, and we can hit you, And so I guess we will, because that is technically something we'd like to do early. So, sure. Okay, Cave Troll is a defender that they played in a different row from their other unit, which is weird. It does still make it really hard for Yennefer to break through. Hit you with Morkvarg. And you drop down to 6. Wolfheadden, I mean, it's just barely going to break through that armor. In fact, really just won't do anything beyond the armor damage. Didn't really want to have to use Morkvarg here. I mean, Morkvarg would have been great against the Fukas, but we pretty much shut down what seems to have been their only Fukas. So, maybe we are fine doing this.
Praying to your gods? They wouldn't dare cross me!
At least you're down to 5, which means we might still be able to get some extra Yennefer damage. Well, now you're at 7. So... Wolfheadden does what? 4 damage, dropping you to 3. Then Cave Troll's once again the card that Yennefer hits. Wait on Gimpy. Or we use Gimpy. You still drop to a 4. Yeah. Doesn't make a huge difference. They're gonna increase the power of a card, though, when they do this, so I think Wolfheadden has more long-term potential compared to Gimpy, so we'll use Gimpy here.
You got to keep peasants on a short leash.
Right now they're tied at 4, but that's to change. It certainly is. But that is why we saved you. For this exact purpose. Okay, Spear Tip is another very high base power card. And a card that, therefore, does make Yen considerably less effective. But now we will go Nekker and use that to set up a Glace on our next and final turn. Won't use these yet. Okay, Spear Tip, more point slams. I think we're still fine here if we do this.
Lie still. You've not yet recovered.
Double the boost, deal the damage. Shouldn't need a spell here, I don't think. Even if they're going to use their leader ability. We'll still take the win. Pretty comfortably at that. Alright, what can we add? A way higher base power than usual Vids Royal Guards, which normally would be quite a bad card, but played in the range row, it's 8 power, can boost an allied unit by 3, making it functionally an 11, and giving them 3 armor as well. Is that order and inspired ability stronger as well because it has the gold? I don't know. Or is it just always stronger in Rogue Mage than it is in multiplayer Gwent? I don't recall. So that's actually better than I would have thought. Or we remove Roach. Roach is solid. I think we add you. Are you amazing? I mean, you're not damaged. You do potentially synergize with a Glace, I suppose. Okay, we have Elite or we have Normal Battle. We upgrade a Glace, remind me what happens. Start of the game, boost self by 3. Zeal Order, double the amount of boosts on self. While in hand or deck, boost self whenever you play a card. She basically is capable of setting herself up if she gets upgraded once. And that's kind of exactly what we need. Yes, we've added a few more cards that can synergize with her. Nekker. Did we add Ennistringer? I don't think we did, but the Vids Royal Guards, to a lesser extent, the one that we just picked up. So this would be useful, especially if we... Well, I guess the timing for Glace doesn't really matter that much, even without the upgrade. So, is that reason enough to take a huge risk with the Elite battle? I feel better about this deck than I do about our previous deck. Initially, it looked very skeptical, or I was very skeptical. It looked shaky. But when we build around Yen, things go better for us. But then again, can we afford to take the risk of an elite battle? How do we feel about that? Let's try it. I feel like this is gonna be failed experiment. No, it's the freighter again. Okay, this time, so our previous run, in which we did fully randomized stuff, we fought this guy, and we lost. But I think it was in large part because we had bad damage, and we certainly have damage this time around. So, I do like that. We can definitely dump some of these guys quickly, if we get the right cards. Armor might not be bad either. How many copies do they make of the same thing? I don't think they do this that much. They punish cards that are not on their starting power. So Spotter is not great. Radavid, giving armor and whatnot is not bad. Oh, he also mills. He also mills a little, or at least can mill. So Roach is not great for that reason. He could counter, he could backfire on us. And there's the end. Okay, so that's big, and we do end up getting Spotter. But I think what we'd like to do is probably start with the end, to be honest. Yes, it means her base power is going to increase. Well, could be worse. So it'll hit you and remove your shield, which does make it easier to get rid of you. You are definitely one of the guys that we'd like to destroy at some point in time. So we draw a card. The longer we wait, the more we delay the increase in their power there. But these guys do give some passive bonuses. Oh, remember, yeah, don't play range row if we can avoid it. If we don't use energy, then neither of you are a factor, but that might change. I feel like we may be able, oh, no, they had some high base power cards. Anyways, we'll start with Yen. Start with Yen. She gets up to 14 base power now. We remove your shield. We'd like to avoid spells if we can, so we won't do anything here, spells-wise. Okay, Cynthia does give us a bad card in our deck. And we will now draw in 2. So I suppose maybe we have enough cards in our deck now that Roach might have still worked. We might draw into him, but okay, so if we use Gimpy here on, oh no, they have 2 6 power cards. I was gonna say for a second, it's gonna say you hit this one, everyone is a 3, we get huge value out of Yen. Yes, almost, but not quite. So I think in that case, I mean, we are still hitting 2 cards, which is not bad. Might want to go Mantlet early. Try to get armor, because they do have some damage, I think. So trying to minimize that would be useful, I think. And Mantlet is a good way to do that. Okay, Dandelion, they'll play more cards then.
You, my friend, always.
Tibor, this is the high base power card I was referring to. We would like to probably use Ulfhedden, and it also is thinning, mill of sorts. We draw into a Glace. We'd like to save, and of course, we're doing this to try to upgrade her. But we might even want to hit Tibor right now, because what, he's going to get hit by, he's going to hit for 7, dropping him down to 6, which is almost enough to tie everyone. But I think you're going to be the highest base power card. So once we hit you, we have much better setup long-term for Yen. So if we don't do this, then it's going to take a really long time for Yen to break through. And that's just going to be significantly limiting Yen's long-term value. So if we can get you all down to the same number, then this is great value. This is where the damage is going to come from. Okay. So Yen right now hits 3 cards, all those 5s. So we don't really want to hit one of them unless we want to cool down is faster depending on how many of these guys they have remaining. So this is another reason to potentially target one of them. And which one would be the highest priority if we were to do that. We can avoid the range row for a little while longer here. We're not about to run out of space. These guys are both spell-centric. You're out of removal range. So that's not really an option. I wish these guys counted as the same card. And then you could just Gimpy and do a bunch of damage to them, but alas, it is not the case. It is not the case. So, it's no amazing choice here. And again, if we want to destroy what, it increases their leader ability by 1 point. I think that might still be worth it at this stage. So yeah, I guess we'll break out Gimpy. And we'll hit you.
So I open took 'em.
Because that way, you could get boosted and that could make it harder to maximize damage on Yen. Yen is the only card that's going to get hit for a bunch of damage from you. Yen, of course, with all the base power we've given her, is more capable of taking that hit. We do end up drawing into Roche. So I think, I'm hoping that it is a little bit safer now. We could lock. Oh, they doubled the power on this. Darn. We could lock one of their dudes here. Don't want to lock you, but locking one of these ones, like maybe the Chapter Warden, could be useful with, if we were to go Roach into Jenga. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but Jenga we'd like to see fairly early for that reason. Imperial Phantom, the earlier we get it, the better. Fuka, the earlier we get it, the better. Nenika, kind of like waiting until the end to make sure that we can safely have her on the board when we play Glace to get all those boosts onto her. So, take your pick. I think it is still worth trying it, though. Okay, and we do get you and you, so I think we lock you. We are now getting a little bit closer to running out of space in the melee row, so that would have been a little bit important. Okay, you're gonna steal somebody, probably this Fuka. No? Okay, I mean, that is also Thrive, but it's lower value, so I'm still a little surprised you went that route. Okay, now you are boosted, so Morphog does hit you a little bit, but you're still the highest at 9, so you're theoretically the card we'd like to go after if we can. You're pretty bad. You may trigger Thrive. I think we might do to you.
No.
Okay, they have poison for what it's worth. I did not remember that, but I mean, you are a card that's going to get hit harder by this Tormentor, but and the armor, I think, is going to be useful for us. Ooh, Locket's probably going to be in, right? Should be, yeah. That really hurts. She was definitely very useful for us. But do still have... Well, we aren't going to get Nenika. We can use you to set up a Glace a little bit. A little bit. So I think we use the Guardian here as a throwaway. And I mean, you could be a card we could transform if we really wanted to. At this point, you have what? You still have the card that makes us lose energy if we use a spell. But one downside that's not that bad. I'd like to destroy you as well if we can. Maybe we could get one. I mean, at this point, I mean, even a late Apiarian Phantom after giving it the increased space power is not terrible. And Nenika, again, synergizes with you. If we were to use a spell, would it be Portal? See if we can get something to deal damage to you guys. Would it be Masterful Rapid Evolution and transform you? I mean, we'd like to play probably Guardian first and have that be a card that gets transformed as well in that case. So either way, I think we're canceling. We're probably playing you next. And to spell or not to spell, or even Rat Swarm and then use those as our rapid evolution targets on our next turn. That is getting a little bit expensive at that point, and every spell we use is gonna get a 4-point fee added on, or 4 energy fee added onto it. So we kind of like to just do one big burst of spells right now and leave it at that if we can. You. Basically just re-roll you if one of you is bad. If not, possibly Ulfheden could be upgraded. I do like deploy abilities to try to... I think that's a more reliable way to target you. It's going to be hard to get rid of you, though, at this point, I think. Yeah. We still do it, though. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can damage you a lot. Not enough to remove you, but a lot. We get a shield. Yeah, I think we do this. Number cards to the left is what dictates the damage. Of course, if we knew we were going to get this, we would have liked to have played you in that row, but almost enough to destroy you. Does trigger Thrive as well. Okay, Vincent will destroy Yen. Okay, I'm surprised they destroyed a 1-power card, but yeah, at the moment, technically speaking, you're the best target for Morkvarg. Do we feel that we probably should lead your ability once again, right? Because it is very close. Yes, we have a decent finisher with a Glace and Radovit's Royal Guards even, but I think we want to be sure. And Morkvarg is probably going to be the card we play here, but let's go Portal again. We can destroy you, that'd be great. Then we can draw into something, and we could, with Mullane if we wanted to. Which Apprentice, I assume, would activate here. It's a little bit late for that. You want to play that early. So I think we go for this for the card draw.
Yes, Dwan.
So that gives us Nenika. I think we're still going Morkvarg here, and then these are both set up for Glace. We just hit you. I think that puts us in much better shape here. Hokim is a decent point slam. Gives us a 4-power unit, but it's going to give them a very high power card here. Nivelin to move stuff. Fortunately, we locked this one, so that would have been a lot of damage if we had not already done that. I like that you're hitting your own Hokim that you gave us. So, Nenika and Royal Guards here. Let's go Nenika, because this has... I mean, either way, it's going to get hit by the Tormentor. It has more than its starting power, but alas... Vilgefortz, who are you going to destroy with that? Might be Nenika or Great Oak, or even Puka. It's Great Oak. It does give us the Apiarian Phantom, and that was our last card, so that was more mill. But as long as they don't do any more, we're fine. And we do like the Apiarian Phantom. It's, again, a little bit late for it, but still have at least one turn to get it boosted up before we use that order ability, which we could... No, we can't really use to remove any of their dudes. But now it is Radovit's Royal Guards. If we play you in the range row, you're actually a little bit stronger. Slower, but stronger. And we don't quite need you yet, so that should still be fine. We're saving this and this for you. Okay, that's not a bad option. That's their last play. And yes, they have a tiny lead here, but we should very much be able to overtake them here. By applying these boosts, and that boost, and doubling you, or the boost at least, on you, and using the Phantom to hit whatever you please, really. And that'll do the trick. So lead battle down, and a Glace will get upgraded, even with our randomized deck. Okay, great. So we can either upgrade a glaze or we can get a priestess to basically get a free round of one of our spells. I think we're looking to upgrade a glaze because, as we were saying, it gives us the setup that, I mean, we have actually found some ways to make it work, but having the automatic setup is definitely nice. And we are now locked into an event here. We did blow through a ton of energy. We're now at, we used a lot for our previous events, and then obviously that elite battle. So I think if we are once again presented with the opportunity to invest energy to get upgrades, we probably cannot afford to do that here, especially when we don't know what's coming after this. Old Grave, Plunder, gain inspiring loot, but gain a curse. Boost all copies of an allied unit by 5. And it's a special card. It's not a passive. We don't guarantee that we get it. And it does synergize with mostly just a glaze, but not really much else unless we're using Rat Swarm, but I just not really sure that's a huge gain for us. For a different treasure, then maybe we'd consider it, but I think we can do better than that. And speaking of treasure, here is a treasure. Oh, we would love to have gotten a place of power. Let's see what we get here, though. Because it is, well, the very card that we just turned down, and we didn't need to get a curse to acquire it this time, so I suppose might as well take it for free. Would I have preferred something else? Yeah, probably. Oh, well, we lost. That's not what we wanted to see. If it's failed experiment, we definitely lose. If it's Maxi, we probably lose. If it's Mountain King, we might be able to win. But I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That's the danger. That's the danger. It is Mountain King. Well, okay, well now I've jinxed it, right? Now I've jinxed it. Okay, so he has Thrive, and really powerful Thrive, and hand boosting is his thing. Roach, I mean, we might be able to flood their side of the board a little bit and slow them down. They will have multiple copies of the same card, so Gimpy potentially can get some extra value there. Spotter and Wyvern are not great, so I think we probably dump both of them. They have some damage, so Mantlet might be a little bit useful. And Nekker, if we get a Glace, would be useful. Jenga to lock could be useful too, and naturally we've drawn to you. You're the one that gets the boost at the beginning. Oh, if we get the boost on Roach, that's horrendous. We need to be careful of that. It's fortunate that that has not happened to us yet. But I think we go Mantlet first. So we don't need for our opponents to have anything on the board for this to work. And we could go for you as well, but I think the earlier we get this down, the better. It does mean you're getting the base power increase, which I don't love. But, I mean, now it's more justifiable as the first card we play, or just a card we play in general. Yeah, so Smuggler is going to give them more hand boosting. We do get a Glace. We do get a Lace, and she has been powered up. And she does synergize with Nekker, of course, so there is something to be said for all that. Do we perhaps Roach and look for damage? Maybe? I mean, there are definitely some cards that we would like to get out early at this point. Yennefer, Apier, and Phantom chief among them. Worst case scenario might be Inspiring Loot, and we just boost a Mantlet by 5, which, I mean, it's not really ever going to get any better than that anyway. We don't really have other cards that we have multiple copies of. Morpharg can hit at least a somewhat boosted Smuggler. You're fine. You're good early. You're okay early. You're okay in this situation. I think we still do it. I think we do Vernon Roach. Okay, that is the perfect outcome. These are both the cards that we wanted. These are both of the cards that we wanted.
When I'm done with you.
Love to get one of their cards damaged so that we can lock some stuff, because, yeah, locking something like that Warbear or even that Smuggler could be useful. Because the end turn, I mean, now Yennefer's going to hit both of them, which is nice. They're tied at 6, but remind me, end of your turn boost self by 1. If you control another copy of this unit, and they do have other copies of it, potentially, Also damage a random enemy by 1. I mean, we have the armor, so maybe that's not the end of the world. We might actually prefer to lock you. Either way, we should lock something on this turn, I think, and we will be able to do that if we use Yennefer first. Yeah. I think we lock you to try to shut down some of the hand boosting. I think that's what we go for. And Ulfheim as a late play, when they have a whole bunch of hand boosting, will be good. And yeah, there's their second Warbear. As we were saying, they likely had 2 copies, and there it is. Does that thrive? No, it doesn't. Okay, so their Inspiring Loot, as we said, is actually the worst card in our deck, now that I think of it. Or it's probably tied for spotter. So this is capped out at 5 points, and this is usually 5 points, sometimes a little better, sometimes a little worse. So the fact that this is a treasure is kind of sad, and yeah, we definitely didn't really want to get it from the previous treasure chest. It was funny because we passed up on it, just the previous encounter, but yeah, it wasn't actually going to be all that viable for us. If we use Gimpy here, no, we should Yennefer first, so you're both tied at 7. Guess reduces your armor. Use Gimpy to hit the one that has slightly more armor. It's still not great. Still not great. But we might want to do it nonetheless. The first one that we hit gets 3 damage. The other one gets 1 damage, so we hit the one that's higher. Okay, that's nasty if I remember correctly. Whenever an ally is... Hold on. Is played, boost your lowest powered ally unit by its current amount of boost. Yeah. That could get pretty out of hand pretty quickly, so we might have wanted to have locked you. But I mean, we shut down some of the boosting, so that should slow you to a certain extent. Technically, Wyvern is an engine that we would like to play. 2 6s, so we're going to hit both of them. What I'm wondering is if we portal here and see if we can get something else that might help to shut you down. Not sure how realistic that is, but let's do this. Oh, we could have. Should have done that first. So this is really nice. You're all at 5, but let's do this. Can copy them a little bit and do hand boosting, which actually, if we get that on a Glace, that's, for what it's worth, a Glace is usually in multiplayer Gwent in a faction in which the way that you boost her is through hand boosting, not through automatic boost whenever you play a card, not from... I mean, I guess you technically can boost her on the same turn that you play her when she's on the board, but that's usually a much less significant component. But this is actually a card that you would normally play with a Glace, even in multiplayer Gwent. There's some armor that we have, so that's Irish Shade is not terrible, but definitely not Harpy Egg. Yes, this gives us 3 damage. Technically speaking...
Take enough there. Would you like an arrow to the head instead?
Technically speaking, we do have enough damage to destroy you if we would like. It means shutting down our hand boosting, and it means shutting down the Apiarian Phantom boost. If we use both of those on you, you get taken out, which I think is probably worth it, to be honest. I think it's probably worth it. This is a pretty huge card. Okay, create and play a unit. Stealth-Kirk. That's a card we'd like to weaken. And we can to a certain extent with Ulfheim. Now, Ulfheim, we would like for that to be our finisher, yes. We would. Because we know that as time goes on, they're just going to keep on playing bigger and bigger cards because they're going to keep on getting more hand boosting. But, right there, leader ability does that as well. Boosts all units in your hand and deck by 1. Yeah, so we shut down some of it, but it's still happening with their leader ability every other turn. So I think we might just let this happen. We could use our last shred of energy on a portal to see if we can shut you down, but I don't think we do that. I think that might be overreacting. For what it's worth, they are boosting every card in their deck, so the longer we waited to play Spotted, the stronger it would have been. And we did wait a fair bit, but might have wanted to wait even longer. Could have just done a Inspired Loot throwaway. They went for the Mantlet, which I mean, I suppose is a thing that you can potentially do. So this is what I mean. Old Spirit Tip at 15, I think they will have probably stronger cards still that we might be able to use Ulfhedden for, although as they're playing higher cards, Yennefer's damage becomes less significant because we are likely just hitting this one card and that one card only. If we were to hit you with Ulfhedden, we drop you down by 8 points, which gets you to 7, which means Yennefer is dealing 3 damage this turn. There is something to be said for that, but it means that we're, again, not going to get as much value with Ulfhedden as we might have otherwise be able to do. I mean, unless we don't do it now, then what? It's Inspiring Loot, I guess. Which is not that inspiring. So we might still do it. They sometimes play some traps, don't they? Their last card is Torque. So one of these is Torque, and that's usually not as highly boosted as the other cards. It's mostly a question of, do they have another high base power card in addition to Torque that is still receiving the hand boost, or is it basically Torque and just traps, in which case there's not going to be anything bigger and there's really no opportunity cost to playing Ulfhedden now? I think we still do it. Yeah, it's a little bit of a short-term play, just to get slightly more damage out of Yennefer, but so be it. Stress Butterflies, which is not that big.
How can I help?
Okay, and they have 1 unit in their hand. And it's... I think they... Well, I guess they could have more. I think that right there is Torque. So now, I think... Oh, we technically speaking, we would like to use Inspired Loot on a Glace. Technically speaking, that is a thing that we would like to do. In which case, it's worth 10. Does that mean Nekker, a Glace, Inspired Loot in that order? A little bit risky. We're giving them some time to mess with our cards, but I think we still go that route.
Nasty Williams those. But you'll live.
Alright, so Sheldon. Ooh, damage by the amount of boost. Who they go after? Triss is the best, but that's still not enough for them to take her out, which is pretty sweet. That is, there's the case to be made for giving Yennefer all of those base power increases. This is close. Okay, but for what it's worth, their finishers actually are not that good usually, because this Torque is set up primarily. But now we go with a Glace, and we use a Glace
Drink this, you'll feel better.
to receive these boosts. We'll just use them immediately, just in case Nannika's going to get shut down some way. And Inspiring Loot we'll use on a Glace on our next turn before we activate her Order ability. And that's our big finisher. That is going to hurt some people. That did hurt some people, as it turns out. Including a Glace. So, we use a Glace here. She gets boosted by an additional 22. Is that enough, or do we need to use our last little speck of energy? We know this is Torque. I think we're safe. I think we're safe. Famous last words, of course, but I think we're good. We're good. 2 elite battles down. This one, we, really didn't want to see. We had, what, like 18 energy or something like that going into it? Okay, so we can either upgrade a Glace further. At this point, start of the game, boost self by 3, remove boost from an allied unit, and boost self by that amount, which we don't really have too many other cards that get boosted outside of, I mean, you could make a case for the Apiarian Phantom if you play that early, and you don't use the order ability, then it will get boosted a bit. We have some Thrive. Those haven't really been cards that we've been focusing on all that much, but potentially could steal the boost from them. So I'm just not sure that's giving us a huge upgrade. I'm not sure if we've seen this before, or we definitely haven't used it before. Remove 2 cards and Self from deck passive, so we basically just fine-tune our deck further. And do we use a treasure to get rid of a different treasure? Honestly, we might. So, I mean, yes, we did see that that technically can be 10 points if we use it on a Glace, but otherwise that is the worst card in our deck, tied with the Spotter. I think we might still upgrade a Glace. I'm not sure this is valuable enough to us. If we had a bunch of bad cards remaining, then we maybe go for it, but it just feels like this early in the run, if we had curses, for example, if we could get rid of those this way, that'd be great. This early in the run, where maybe we're going to run into places of power where we can remove those cards. Granted, if we go to a place of power, we're probably going to restore energy. I think we still take the Glace upgrade. Neither one was great. Would love a place of power right about now. We have seen a place of power right about now. Yes. We are taking energy from either of them. And, so it... We'll just go here, I guess. We're not gonna increase the base power. This is what... Is this the remove one? I think it is. But, again, we're not gonna do that either way. Because we need the energy right about now. Funk Soul, brother. Okay, random events. Please do not take energy from us. I have probably jinxed it. Gambler. While stopping at an inn for the night, a local high roller invites you to play dice with him. Lose... Yeah, no. If we had more to spare, I might consider it. But we just can't really afford to lose 10 energy right now. And at this point, we're actually getting kind of close to the boss, dare I say. Let's see what we run into this time. Unstable place of power. This does intrigue me a bit. We are still on low energy. We're getting close to the boss fight. There's a chance we don't draw into our deck is still pretty small. So there's a decent chance we will draw into wounds, right? At least these ones don't cost us energy. It's just a totally random amount, right? I mean, technically this is supposed to be an RNG run. And this is pretty RNG-centric for that reason. I guess we'll do it. Okay, I don't think we've ever done it before. It got us up to 79 energy. I think that is probably worth it. Feeling confident in your ability to draw upon and harness the chaos, you decide to absorb the power. Chaos indeed. A surge of energy floods your body, courses through your muscles, seeps into your soul. It hurts, but it feels so good. You feel indestructible. You feel like a god. Then you collapse to the ground, aching like you've never ached before. Okay. Battle either way. I think at this point, the boss is right here. So we're looking at probably one encounter here, one encounter here. I'm thinking like 3 more encounters before the boss. Thereabouts. And we have the energy now to be much more confident in these encounters. So take your pick. I think we'll go this route because more likely that we'll have options here. Whereas this northern route, we're likely just going to have one since there's nothing to the north. It's just the mountains. Ooh. Okay, well, this guy's nasty. This guy is nasty. Because he can potentially... Okay, it's the normal version, thankfully, not the hard version. So if he has damaged 9 cards, he can destroy every single card that we have. And... the armor for Mantlet would actually be huge. Boost on Fuka would be huge. Jenga's a little bit tricky. So he does not get boosted, so he's susceptible to being one of those cards that could contribute toward this Bloodthirst 9. Basically, the deal is, if he triggers that Bloodthirst 9, he wins. If he doesn't, we probably win. So that's pretty much all that matters. So I think we we get rid of Jenga. Yeah, the lock might be helpful at some point in time. Wolfhen would be a late play, but I think we still dump you. And a Glace is probably a good pickup. She obviously will get boosted. Whatever we play here is going to get its base power increased. I think it is still Mantlet. Mantlet got a whole bunch of boosts. That is also nice. The flask that we started off with. We could make it Mantlet, get up to 10 base power. It becomes a very solid addition. Or we go Spotter, which is right now the worst card in our deck, and say, well, at 3 base power, maybe you're a little bit more palatable. But we don't want it to be Fuka, although you are good early turn play, early match play. Higher base power means it's harder to trigger that Thrive, so that's a no-go. I think we still do this. So you're highly boosted. You're going to be highly boosted. You're potentially going to be highly boosted. You will at least get some boosts. You can help us get boosts in armor. Okay, so we're getting the kind of cards we need here. The problem is that, it'd be great if we had a boosting spell, but no, we just have RNG spells. So we could potentially use Masterful Evolution if somebody gets damaged and we're concerned about getting to that number where they're going to trigger that death or Bloodthirst 9. They can, in some cases, spawn in damage units on our side. If they do that, then we might transform them and turn them into non-damage units. That's probably the use case for that. So I think now we will play Fuka and see if we can get you boosted up. The armor, again, is going to be big. It's going to shut down that longship, which would otherwise be a fantastic way for them to set up the Bloodthirst. So this is huge. That's more damage, though. Or at least short-term more damage. Also, this is not a great card for us, but I kept it because, again, it's boosting. Okay. Well. You boost other cards, but not yourself. I think we're possibly looking at Spotter here. Spotter is actually great without the increased base power, because either it's boosted, it's on base power, or it's dead. So there's no such thing as a Bloodthirst contributing Spotter. So let's use you, and you might trigger the Thrive, depending on what we get here. Yep. That will trigger your Thrive.
Don't see a gap in their armor. Make one.
Okay, damage to units. Okay, we lost the armor on Mantlet, which means we're not receiving as much armor from the Mantlet. But now we go Apiarian Phantom, and that is a card that gets boosted, has at least a little bit of armor to start with, and if we are feeling so bold, we could even choose to absorb the boost from it with a Glace at the end of the match. And it triggers the Thrive as well. Yeah, oh, sorry, I missed that before, but yeah, Mountain King I think is definitely the easiest of the elite battles, for sure. So, I was very concerned. We had like 18 energy before going into that. So I was very concerned we were going to get a failed experiment, and then it was probably going to be game over. But we lucked out big time that we got Mountain King. Okay, so you have Thrive. So I think we play you. So you are an engine. And yes, you could be damaged, but if you do, then it just becomes easier to trigger your Thrive again. So it's not too problematic, I don't think. And is there anything that we'd like to hit here? I mean, we could potentially weaken and maybe set up the destruction on this longship. That's really the only thing that has long-term value here, so let's do that. And let's play you here. Let's not row stack too much.
How blood spilling's done.
Yennefer can deal a ton of damage to us if they go melee row, but they went range row for the boost instead, which did not really help them to contribute toward their Bloodthirst. In fact, makes it harder for them to get the Bloodthirst, considerably harder now. So we actually love to see that. And this is every card we're going to draw into. So at this point, these are all things that under ideal circumstances we would use to support a Glace. So, do we allocate them all towards a Glace? Ulfen is kind of the odd man out. I mean, it's a good card, yes, but it's a damaging card and does not help us with circumventing their ability. So, I think we're probably still doing this. And we might go Formation on Radovid's Royal Guards. That means that it is going to start out boosted. So it's a little harder for them to make this damage relative to Nekker. Yeah, Offering to the Sea also damages everything, but given how they gave us 2 boosts on every card, everything but this Radovid's Royal Guard is boosted right now. So now we could go to, and that is high power Deafening Siren, so we could use Ulfhedden to deal a big chunk of damage to it. But I think what we'll do here, now what we've experienced in the past is that generally against this opponent it is actually best to load up on multiple boosts on some cards rather than spreading out your boosts and only being boosted by 1 or 2 points, because otherwise they do that stuff that can damage everyone and suddenly you have no boosted units anymore. Granted, we've done a pretty good job of being boosted by several points thus far, so my point is, do we use Nekker and boost up Radovid's Royal Guards? I mean, it does reactivate the Inspired ability there, so I think it is probably worth doing that. And at least getting you boosted by 1. Yes, we would probably like to have you be set up for a Glaze, but we have options there. I'm going to save these charges for potentially a Glaze. A little bit greedy.
Cut my paws off, I'll bite you to death.
Okay. I'm going to transform a bunch of stuff into Revenants, who will have damage. So will they go all in on trying to take out one enemy and one of our cards and get the death blow? Possibly. Possibly. So what if we go... And that is now a 16-point Revenant. Not that that makes a huge difference, but... I mean, it's really Ulfhedden or it's a Glace here. Ulfhedden is easier for them to hit. So I think we actually do go Glace a little bit earlier. If we do this...
You'll be fine.
Oh, right, we steal boosts. Fine. Actually, you will be more boosted. We'll get greedy. We'll wait on a Glace. So you get more boosts. And we'll see who they go after here. They have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Falibor is not going to be able to chain any death blows. Okay, so now you're boosted 6. You're boosted 4, so yeah, you are the best card to steal the boost from. Nekker is now damaged, but we do this.
Lie still. You've not yet.
Steal your boost. A Glace is now huge. Will be huge once we use that ability on her, but let's hold off a little bit. You will still get boosted at the end of this turn. So we've not used your order ability, so that's actually fine. So we don't need to use Nekker on you. Save the last Nekker charge, just in case. Same with Radovid's Royal Guards. Morkvarg is the single best counter against the Glace in the entire game. And that's why we would potentially have wanted to wait to use a Glace. And it's also why we did not use, one of the reasons why we did not use all of our boosting sources right off the bat. So, yeah. Yeah. That's still a little painful. Oh, wow. Yeah, come to think of it. It's actually, wow. I did not realize they were that close to us. We might need play this a little bit safe. Here, and use a portal. Well, Jutta wouldn't have been the highest unit. And weaken whatever their last play is. Damage dealt by 6. I mean, she's still a 12, but she is a unit that will be damaged. We had activated you first. Would have gone boosted by 7. Just barely. Would have still been smaller than Jutta. Vitality is not going to activate quickly enough to be a factor for a Glace. I think it is still Jutta.
May Freya choose the victor.
I think that, it's just about impossible for them to get all the way up to Bloodthirst 9 at this point. So I think we just needed pure points. We'll W, and we'll use this to... Maybe we'll keep that row clogged. And just get rid of you. 30-point lead. And Ockfist would have been a great way for them to trigger that Bloodthirst ability at the end, but we're fine. We have enough boosts. We can take it. Okay, so we can either add Rockfire Archer, which deals damage based on how many damage units our opponent has, or we can remove, let's remove the wound. How about? Okay. So I'm guessing, I mean, there's a chance this is the last encounter before the boss here. I think there's probably one more after this, though. So let's see what this is. The Toad. Ooh, is there a hard version of this? There might be. What is he? He's poison and consumption? Poison enemy unit, death blow, split boost equal to the target unit's power randomly. Ooh, that's a little scary because we have some high base power cards. So we kind of want to go wide rather than tall against him and not do too much boosting. So that means if we get a Glace, we definitely need to play her at/near the end. Even Yennefer, with her high base power, is a little bit scary. Roach, I think, can help us. Dump Spotter. There is Yen. We do want to get her early. On the other hand, does make her a glaring target for the giant toad. No Glace at the moment, and Inspiring Loot just makes her a taller unit for the toad to go after, so I think we dump you. Well, we definitely didn't want that. But we definitely didn't want that. Well, on one hand, it's maybe a way to get rid of it before the boss fight, right? Right? Oh, and also we hate this. And also we didn't want you to be in our hand in case you potentially got the boost. So, bullet dodge once again on that. We need to remember that Roach in our hand at the beginning is not a good idea. Even if he is a good card. So... And with that being said, it might even be Roach turn 1. Either that or deliberately... Actually, tell you what. We should deliberately use this first and brick their first turn with their leader ability. So they have nothing to go after. This shouldn't brick Blacksmith because this is not a unit, even if it's the first card that we play. Oh, we also don't want to play Roach first because it will trigger the Blacksmith. Okay, that does still boost the Glaze for what it's worth. Okay, they're going to try to use a bunch of statuses, but they have nothing to hit. That's why I played that wound first. There is a Glace. So again, we need to be careful with her, because if they do get the chance to destroy her, then we could be in trouble. Fortunately, with a cooldown 3, it is somewhat feasible to dodge that there. Problem at the moment is any card that we would like to play is a card that we don't really want to increase the base power on, the one exception being Yennefer, but again, if we play Yennefer, we are inviting them to destroy her, because this is not off cooldown. Do we maybe use Nenika as a sacrificial lamb? Increase her base power? I mean, it's not terrible. She is still a good card that we like to play. I think we might need to do that. Obviously, we will not be able to use her to boost anything immediately. That might even mean that it is worth portaling here. So we shouldn't have the energy to spare, I think. And with that, at least just get a card down here that we can use as the recipient of Nenika's boost, because I think we, rather than using it on a Glace, which would have been a bad idea to begin with, because, again, if they destroy a high power unit, they're getting a bunch of value. We want to split our power between a bunch of different cards. Hit you a little bit. But you're going to tank it with the armor. don't love boosting you because you have Thrive, and that just makes it harder to trigger that Thrive, and we don't really want point scoring or boosting engines. We want, if anything, damaging engines. It's total of 4 damage. That's total of 4 damage. This splits it. This, what is targeted. This is in one fell swoop. It might still be better to go with this. So I'm doing this so we can put all the boosts on you. So that way, if Nekker does get destroyed by a poisoning unit and this ability, then we still at least got the value. And if they choose to poison the ballista, then alright, so be it. I mean, technically that is, at this point, a better option because this is a 3-point order ability. And I think that's what they're going to do. They should. Yeah. Okay, so now this is on cooldown at least. Which means we could play Yennefer and have a little bit of a window. Could do Roach and go wide, but I think this is an opportunity to play one of those higher value cards and at least have a little bit of an opportunity. At least still have in deck. Potentially get Morkvarg out, which could be useful when they just did some boosting, although actually the later we do that, the better it would be. So maybe we hold off on Roach and see if we can get Morkvarg later. If we are going to Morkvarg, then Yennefer is not as meaningful. Do we use Skimpy to try to get people down to the same number? It's close. Doesn't quite get us there. I think they will play some cards with the same power, though. Nothing's perfect. In short. Maybe we can afford to play Fuka and it'll get boosted a little bit from Yennefer. Maybe this becomes the target of their removal rather than Yennefer when we play her. Nekker. Ooh. That's interesting. Excuse me, you do not have 10 cards in your hand? You start with 5 armor and Rogue Mage? Maybe you do. So that's going to be hard to break through. But we would like to break through it. In fact, Morkvarg, if we get him, immediately destroys you, because it immediately removes all the armor. So that is something. We're on 2. So I think maybe we dodge this for 2 more turns, and then after they use this is when we break out Yennefer. The earlier the better, yes, but if, again, they remove her, and they definitely will try, then that's going to be pretty painful for us. So, I mean, we would love if we could get a Nekker and boost on Spotter, but then again, we don't like the boosts all that much, to tell you the truth. There's proof of more poison. We're going to draw 1 more card as well. Sienna. Oh.
I shall take back what is mine.
She has to go. There is Morkvarg, which can destroy you. But I am very concerned about you. Only way we could shut you down would be if we either Masterful Evolution or Portal, get something that can damage someone, probably you, and then proceed to lock you with Jenga. Otherwise, we're not quick enough, / don't have enough bursty damage. It's not even like Roach is going to change that with something we get out from our deck. I think we do it. At least see what we get here. This could be damage, this could be damage. Technically, you are more damage. And you have Zeal, which prevents you from getting statuses. We're probably going to use your order ability immediately, which means we're not going to get the hand boosting. But so be it. We want to lock you. And we'd still have a way to destroy you with Morkvarg whenever we need to. More poison. Probably you. Yep. And they must have destroyed it. This is the other reason why we were waiting to play Morkvarg, because we would love if they get basically all their boosts on Yigern, and then Morkvarg is still going to break through all those boosts, get rid of the armor, and destroy you. Or, well, doesn't even need to break through the boost, just needs to get rid of the armor, and then you'll get destroyed. So now I think is our time to, well, technically speaking, it means Yennefer is just wasting damage on you for the moment. You have Veil, which is nice. Maybe we use Roach and see if we can get that. And we do. Okay, now we don't have a great recipient for this boost right now, except the Veiled unit. Let's go that route. Okay. Damage unit by a bit. Going after you, that's fine. Okay. So basically we're trying to wait until they use this one more time, get a bunch of boosts, so that we get the maximum value out of Morkvarg on Yigern. But in the meantime, what does that mean? I think that means it's gonna have to be Gimpy here. Probably on you.
You got to keep peasants on a short leash.
Okay, that's a boost. Please put it on Yigern. Darn. Okay, next turn is leader ability. It might have to be Yen. She's not worth that much with her order ability anymore because we had to wait to play her. And she has less power than a Glace does, so we don't really want a Glace to get destroyed by this right now. Even if we're gonna reset some of that with Morkvarg. So yeah, I think it is Yen. She's likely the next target to get destroyed. That damage is insignificant because you're gonna get destroyed anyway. With Cobra plus leader ability. Please have all your boosts go to Yigern. Not as many as I would have liked. Definitely not as many as I would have liked. So now they will not get this off cooldown. So that is no more. But obviously, we've lost many big cards here. We knew that was going to happen, but I think we spend a little more to make sure that we can still catch them. Not great. Not great. Don't have that many units to benefit from this. Don't love the boost, but we can at least put some boosts on cards that have Veil. Although we might have you be the card that gives the boost over to a Glace. You still want to be careful of that because they might have enough poison to remove you. Well. And it needs to be melee anyway. It's more valuable. Oh, right, and we have not technically played a card from hand. I think it's Morkvarg. I think it is Morkvarg here. Here and now on Yigern. This destroys him. Now, there's a chance they have Osril, which consumes a card from their graveyard and gets boosted by that card's power. That might have been what they were planning to do with Sienna to set that up, but I'm not sure. Devil's Puffball for poison on Nekker, which we're not that concerned about. You've been boosted by 7. You've been boosted by 4. So it actually would still be Dunka that we'd like to absorb the boost from, and I think we will still try to give a Glace as many boosts as possible because of this card from hand. They will not have leader ability, so it is very unlikely that they can get enough poison on a Glace to take her out. Just don't play her next to Nekker, because if they use another... No, this is just damage adjacent units. Okay, yeah. So... a Glace. Some question as to whether we need to lead her ability here in some way, shape, or form. The spell.
Drink this, you'll feel better.
I think we do that, and that's going to turn you into a 27 boost, so 57. Should be enough, unless I can remove a Glace with poison. And we're about to find out. Definitely not? Question mark? Even with Devil's Puffball? Alright, we're good. We're good. And that might be the last encounter before the boss. Might be. Which is why I spent a little aggressively there, energy-wise, just to make sure that we could still get the job done. And add... Smallwood Priest, I'm not sure it helped us all that much. But yeah, deals a little bit of damage to us, gets some boosts in return. We potentially have some armor from Mantlet, which can mitigate the self-damage to a certain extent, but I don't think that's a huge factor. Then again, I'd rather not drop Jenga. I guess we're adding you. And we're probably trying not to play you. Or we could re-roll you. 55 energy? Yeah, we like... Well, we want energy against this boss to deal damage. Damage is key. And we actually don't have guaranteed damage, which is going to make things a little bit tough. Or at least not for our leader ability, which is going to make things tough. Yeah. We definitely need the lock for that reason. So we're not dropping you. The question is, do we... It's a little bit more damage. That's not that great. We will take you. Because we kind of have to at that point. My point is, the reason why I was willing to be aggressive there is I'm not sure we're going to have much benefit from using spells now. Okay, oh, there is still one more battle at that before the boss fight. Okay, in that case, I would not have been that aggressive with the re-rolls there, had I known that. We have never seen this enemy before. That's kind of scary. What is your deal? Trigger an allied unit's Death Wish. Then spawn a 1-power copy of that on the same row. So you're obviously Death Wish centric, which means damage is going to be a little questionable. I mean, if we can weaken you without actually killing you with something like Yennefer, that's not bad. But I think same with Vorkvarg, that can kind of do that too. Let's get rid of you. That's not bad. Fuka for boost might also be a good option. Rather than going all in on damage, I think we might stick with this. Obviously no Glace, but I think we stick with that. Okay. First card we play will increase its base power. There's nothing for us to hit initially, so I think we probably do go Apiarian Phantom here. Okay. That gets you up to a 10, which is pretty sweet at that point. It's already quite solid with all the base power increases. Okay, Catechin will spawn in Enekimara, which is not that powerful. Now, this is a card we just added. Damage enemy by 3. End of a turn if we have armor. Boost self by that amount, which... I mean, we can potentially do a little bit of that with the Mantlet if we had it, but we don't. They do have a damaged card, and they will continue to have damaged cards, I think, so let's probably save Jenga. Let's go Fuka now as an engine that can gain power over time. But we should get Yen out here pretty soon, I think. Damage enemy by 2. Please go after that Fuka. Thank you. That just makes it easier for us to trigger that Thrive. So now let's use Yennefer, I think. And you have 2 6s, so let's weaken all the 6s. And trigger this Thrive as well. Was Yennefer the card that got the hand boost as well? The random hand boost? Looks like it. Okay, so obviously I don't know what this enemy has with its setup, but I assume some Death Wish and some consumption. There is a Glace, so that's good. You have several cards tied at 6. Let's keep it that way for now. And... Could lock you to shut down the consumption. I was kind of thinking we'd lock a better Death Wish unit instead. But sure. It's decent. We might be able to do better than that, but we'll settle. And if you want to spawn in a bunch of lowish power enemies so that we can hit them all with yen, then we'll take it. These are a little scary. Those are Death Wish. So at this point, looking at mostly Glaze synergies, and maybe we use Yarpin. You will destroy an allied unit with 1 power, meaning these Herald Pals in all the likelihood. So I think I'd like to try to focus you down here. Doesn't seem like they have much in the way of high-powered cards. So I think maybe we go Ulfhedden, drop you to 2, and then Yarpin to get you destroyed. Otherwise, I mean, Yarpin technically hitting you here drops you down to 1, and... Well, I mean, if we really wanted to, we could go Apiary and Phantom, plus either of these guys and get rid of you. That does technically work. We'll do it. So I am concerned about letting this Herald stick around. Okay, Rot Fiend will deal damage when they trigger that Death Wish there. Now, that is a 5. Oh, they do have a few 5s now. All right, you have Thrive. So, okay. Can continue to hit all you guys, I suppose. Morkvarg is looking like he's not going to have much value here. But we just go for preemptive Royal Guards. Very preemptive, perhaps, and wait for potential targets for you two. Maybe. We just make these bad. We don't really want to mess with Yen at the moment on you. I think we do this.
Not without good reason. Hold me stern.
Okay, more 5s. And now... Yep, still 3 5s. And we could... Morkvarg. Drop you to 4, and then suddenly we're hitting... Oh no, we're just getting less damage this turn. So let's not do that. Well, but it does kind of need to hit somebody here. So, yes, it's probably still Morkvarg.
We'll turn to see red. Red!
And we actually don't really want to hit you, so I guess we'll hit a Nekimara instead. Waiting to use this until a Glace comes out. A Foglet, spawn Fog, throw effect. Okay, don't mind too much Morkvarg getting hit. He doesn't matter really all that much at all. They actually did not trigger the Thrive, so we have a bunch of 4s to hit, so that's nice. Might we play an early Glacier? We might. We might even. So this just messes with Yen. And Yen is worth a lot right now.
You'll be fine.
Hold on. Steel 4 versus Steel 1. Yeah, or Steel 4. Or Steel 4. Okay, well, take your pick.
Lie still. You've not yet recovered.
Okay, now this really good damage from Yen. And so that's why I was saying earlier that in certainly early run, it felt like Yen was our key card, not so much a Glace. They have pretty much clogged themselves at this point. And they've once again not triggered the Thrive, so whole bunch of cards are at 3 here. So huge value from Yen once again. So also means Ulfhedden is not really doing much here once again. Maybe we'll Let's do this and, well, let's do this. Hit almost everyone for 1 damage. And then Ulfheden, I mean... Sure, technically this might detract from Yen on our next turn, but surely they're going to play something higher than a 2, right? Yeah, they will. And boost no less. They're completely clogs, and they definitely have not caught us. There's a chance they can use this last card. There's a chance that they won't have room for it. Now we go and give all the boosts to a Glace. Double those boosts and use Yen. Not as strong this turn, but feeling pretty good about where we stand. And they can't play that last card. And that was the last enemy. One that we had never seen before. Now we have defeated every enemy, and that was an achievement. Alright, so now we can add a very highly base power increased Melusine Cultist, which has a combination of damage and a little bit of boosting, potentially, or we can remove. The loot is... it's okay for a Glace, but as we've said before, it's not great. It's what, 10 points when combined with a Glace? Or we add a card that is... what? 6 base power. Rain is 2 points of damage per turn for 2 turns. That's a total of 10. And if we have the row effect on the opposite side, then we get boosted for 2 turns as well. So it's 12 total, technically, in the optimal situation. Yeah. I think I might actually remove the Inspiring Loot because how many cards do we have in our deck? 1, 2, 3, 4 that we are actually going to play. Like, not you. You start out on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16. We play 10 per match, so if we remove you, we're at 15. Roach gives us 2 more from our deck, and we can mulligan a few. So that gets us almost every card, which means if we like the cards that we have very good consistency. Only things we don't really like are Spotter and that loot. And sort of the Wyvern. So I think I might actually prefer to get rid of you. Or we reroll, because we don't think that our energy is going to be all that useful in this encounter. I mean, it's not a bad card to remove. So maybe we do it. Just increase the likelihood that we actually get a Glace. Surely this is the boss, right? Yeah. Yeah, it was lower than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be like right here, and so I was not expecting this battle. But it is the Fiery Fiend, an enemy that, if we have damage, is not so bad to deal with. Problem is we don't have a leader ability to consistently deal damage, so we're going to be relying on our units, or maybe a lucky portal, and that could spell trouble. If we have the damage, I think he's the easiest. But if we don't, then that could change quickly. Okay, let's see. So I was saying Wyvern, probably one of our weaker cards. The thing is, he also... the Molten Images, these are the things that we really want to get rid of. Just 3 power. So it doesn't take much damage, but he will spawn several of them. So we really want to make a point of taking them out and taking them out quickly. So we'll banish the leftmost card, which right now would be Gimpy, which is one of our more reliable ways of dealing 3 damage. So that's something we want to have. Wyvern gives us a little bit. Yarpen does give us 3. Might get more from you. It's 2 damage, but that's not enough by itself. So I think we still mulligan you, and obviously getting a Glace is big. So I think we settle for this.
burns 100 times as bright is decidedly short-lived.
Okay, that's more damage. Not enough to destroy a card by itself, but we know Gimpy is going to get lost. Is it instantaneous? Yeah, they have Zeal, so it will be effective immediately on their next turn. So you're going. We want to get you back, which we can do with Yarpen. That's the card that got the random boost at the start. Now, once again, we need to be careful of having Roach in our starting hand. We had him in our starting hand. He did not receive the boost, thankfully. But I think the only card we can really justify playing here on our first turn is you. It's very proactive, but we've no targets for damage for you guys. We don't want Roach to get the base power increase, even now. Ulfhedden has nothing. A Glace, no thanks. Not this early. That's too risky. So I think it's you.
Not without good reason. Only stern.
Okay, there goes Gimpy. Roince, the Wildfire.
Name's Rins.
Rince. I never remember how to pronounce his name. Whenever a unit on this row receives damage from any other source, damage it by 1, so just can basically double damage. This is another way of getting 3 damage, but I think we will go for the guaranteed removal, and we'd like to save this, not use this order ability immediately if we don't have to, because then we get boosts out of you. So let's go Yarpen instead as our immediate form of removal here. So that gives us back Gimpy. And now we can use Gimpy as a potential way to remove one of them. Obviously, Glace is next on the list for cards that would get banished, but we can and should be able to get her back, so I'm not too worried about that at the moment. And they have some cards, I think, that can remove our energy, or at least reduce it. So, I mean, there's potentially something to be said for using the spells early before that stuff, the energy gets completely depleted, but hoping we'll still be okay there. What's your order? Damage an enemy unit on a row with Wildfire. Burn enemy unit. And the burn damage you with the status by 1 when burning unit is destroyed. Burn is adjacent units. It's bleeding with spread, or bleeding that spreads. We could poke you with damage. That'd be kind of nice. Then we could hit you with Ulfhedden, and that hit pretty hard. Saving you, I think we get Apiary and Phantom down here and just start boosting it. And again, we'd rather not have to use this damage to remove one of the molten images. We'd prefer to have Gimpy do that, but if we have to, we could. It's a Phoenix. This is a card that I remember was worth trying to take out quickly. At the end of the turn, boost a random ally unit by 3, damage self by 3, Death Wish, banish self, and spawn Phoenix Hatchling. So it would do this infinitely unless we can destroy both the Phoenix and the Hatchling on the same turn, which technically we could do. Ulfhedden technically could do it, but if we go Phantom to remove you, again, I don't love it, but if it shuts down one of their most important cards, then maybe it is worth it. Phantom, it gets the Hatchling out, and with the Hatchling, we then hit you with a Morkvarg, or probably Ulfhedden is better. I think that still works on a 1 power card. I think it still destroys it. Does potentially make it very difficult to remove the last... Is it going to be even the last molten image? No, it might not be. Ooh. I think we're using leader ability here. And seeing if we can get any damage out of it. I think that's worth seeing. I think that is worth checking. Technically, Herald can do that. And a Stringer's boost. Probability's consumption, that really doesn't matter. I think we go Herald. And I think we How exactly does this work again? We can go Herald. It's not instantaneous damage. But Roach, is there any chance? I mean, we could lock. Ooh. I mean, we can't guarantee, but if we could lock you, that'd be great. We also don't have Yen. Notably, we're gonna draw into one more card here, but I would love to get Yen. So, how important is it to shut down the Phoenix versus Molten Image? We may not have enough damage for both. Well, no, if we save Gimpy, we go Apier and Phantom, destroys you. Ulfhedden destroys the hatchling. Then we can at least still remove one with Gimpy, and maybe that's sufficient. Maybe that's good enough. Obviously, we need to get a Glaze back at the end of that, but, yeah. I think we try that. Spawn you. I'm hoping that on a 1-power unit, this still works, and I think we will put you in this row because you're not a super high priority card, so if you get damaged, we'll live with it. Yes, it does take you out. Okay, so I think that is worth it, for sure. Yeah, we do have more damage from Herald as well. When we hit the Herald's pals, which is another reason why I did want to get him, but he's slower with the damage. That's some damage too. And we might save that. And we do like Mantlet for giving us armor if they're going to damage us, which they will to a certain extent. But Roach, maybe to see if we can at least get Yen, would be nice. Also, they put fire on their own row. Spawn Cataclysm or Pyroclasm on this row for 3 turns. After 3 turns, transform into the last unit played by your opponents. Oh. We should be careful about that. I mean, if it transforms, it means it won't get the deploy ability. So if it's Gimpy, it might end up being a Gimpy or possibly a Morkvarg or a Wyvern. I think we could live with that. 10 power Mantlet that gives them armor. We'd rather not have that be the case. Ooh. Oh no, there is the Molten Image. Okay, I was gonna say. Because we did not want to lose Gimpy to a Molten Image, so I think we do need to, well, yeah, we should. Let's do this. If the random 2 damage happens to hit you, we can take you out with a Wyvern, and that's great. If it doesn't hit you, then we use Gimpy. It did not hit you. We will use Gimpy. Gimpy, I think, again, is... Well, I mean, we don't have the fire in this row, I suppose, anymore, so let's play you wherever. Get a Glaze back. Ooh, she loses her boost. Ooh, that stinks. I did not see that coming, but I suppose it makes some sense. It does make some sense. She didn't have a ton of boost, but she did have some. She did have some. Okay. Well, that's not great. Okay, I think we'll go leader ability list for now, but we might be looking to use it on our next turn. Damage all units in the opposite row. Well, you might not want to do that. Because you did kind of just have those deal extra damage to you. So, but now we don't have anything great for Herald to go after. We have nothing that Herald can go after. It would need to be a 1-power unit, and we don't have any 1-power units. We'd like to get the Thrive, but on the other hand, you are maybe the best card for us to use if / when the other Molten Image comes out. Let's go Roach here, I think. And, ooh, it's gonna... Whatever we play now is gonna be the card that they create a copy of. You're actually not that highly boosted. So we're okay with cards with deploy abilities. We don't like cards that have abilities that are active while they're still on the board. So as much as I want to play Roach here to see if we can get Yen, if we get Yen with our second card, then suddenly she's the card that they're creating a copy of, and that does work for them. So we could lead it. Yeah, you know what? We'll do it. And if we get Yen in the second card, which we almost did, we like getting her here for sure.
You cross
It's
The wrong
Fuka.
sources.
Would be the card this would turn into. Are we okay with that? Last unit played. If it was last unit that entered the board, we could Rat Swarm and turn that into a rat, which would be kind of hilarious. Unfortunately, that is not going to work here, but do that, and Fuka is a decent card. It's not amazing. We're kind of looking for a bad card here. We're deliberately looking for a bad card. On the other hand, Morkfrog, it turned into a 5. They wouldn't get the deploy. And a Morkfrog is worth more for us. 4 points of damage. Might not want to give them a Harpy Egg. It looks like the worst card, but then again, we'd rather not destroy it. We could probably still avoid it, but I think Morkfrog is technically still worth slightly more, even once you factor in that it's going to be a slightly stronger card for them to transform into. But with no active ability, unlike the Fuka, I think that is still a card we'd rather them transform into instead of Fuka with this guy. Inferno, burn a random enemy unit on each row. Yeah, so we're fine with that being Morkfrog. And now we can do this. And, oh, except we might, no, we should wait. We should technically wait to see if they're gonna, when they get this molten image. Means we're gonna lose Morkfrog temporarily, but I think we'll live with that. We'll get the armor here. Poke you. Honestly, we could actually just spam leader ability at this point. Damage enemy, but 5. Okay. Can destroy you, although it would spread the fire. Not necessarily sure we want to do that. Again, I'm not actually that concerned about the fire. So, you. We want to get rid of you. Technically, we could have converted you with Rapid Evolution. Damage all other units by 1. Boost all allied units by 1. Drops you to a 2. Means we can destroy you. Yeah, we actually do want to do that. Yeah, we're going to destroy some of our cards, but I think we'll live with it. Because it means we're getting a card back that we otherwise would not be able to get back. Like that. Not sure how valuable Morkfrog is really going to be for us, but so be it. Okay, so Synthesis gives them solid damage. They're actually doing a lot of damage right now. Yes, Aglace is a decent finisher, but she has taken some damage. She lost her, or rather, she lost her boost. And we, lost what was going to be the way to give her boost. So yeah, that kind of stinks. We never got the chance to use the order ability on this guy. We played him early, and that was the risk we took. So Morkfrog has gotten 1 boost, so we can use Morkfrog on Morkfrog if we really needed to. But again, we're just going to spam either Portal, or if we could convert a 2-power unit into something better, we could. And we'd actually lose the flames in the process, so there's maybe something to be said for that. I still think Portal is generally our best spell, though. You are not the highest unit, are you? You are definitely not the highest unit. So I think we take you. Then we use Morkfrog to hit you. And we use Yen. That is a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage, though. Remove energy. Yeah, this is the card I was thinking of. What happens if we destroy these things? We gain energy? Okay. So, ooh, well, it is it's all coming down to this last play. So take your pick as to what the best spell for us to use might be. And, at this point, don't have as many weak cards, so the transformation is maybe not as significant as it would have been on previous turns. Maybe that would have been better on the previous turns. This is going to be important, though. And none of this is good. None of this is all that useful. technically you're the best. And that is not saying much. That is not saying much.
Sky'll burn with the eternal fire.
So most of this is coming down to a glace
Drink this, you'll feel better.
as a point slam. That's the last thing we can do here. They've dealt a lot of damage on their previous turns. Ew, what? Equalize the power of all, what the heck? Oh boy, that was an interesting finisher there. But I guess we won. I guess we won. Wasn't quite sure what to make of that, but okay. We'll have our closest boss battle yet, I believe. And that is our first Chaos deck victory, and we have now officially won with every type of deck. Chaos included. Maximum Chaos, no less. See what we unlocked here. I think it was it this first? Ring of Favor. I think we had that before. Destroy all other units in this row and boost self by the sum of their power, and it has immune, so it clears out space. So it's useful in Hive Mind. Crow Mother. Spawn 2 crows whenever you play a special. Most like your spell. Summon self from the graveyard. Boost an allied unit and all copies it by 2. All Hive Mind stuff for sure. Visions. Play a card from your deck. Great consistency. Alba Pikeman. At the end of your turn, damage random enemy unit by 1. Savage Fury, I assume. Perkia. Veil, Zeal, Order, split 3 damage randomly between enemy units on a row. At the end of your turn, if the order is not used, damage random enemy unit by 1. It is basically the damage version, or the damage per turn version of the Aperian Phantom. Instead of getting boosted by 1 every turn, it deals 1 random damage every turn, rather than the order ability dealing 3 damage. The order ability, or rather, instead of the order ability dealing 3 damage to 1 unit, it deals 3 damage split across randomly 3 units in a row. Then Oriana, give an enemy unit bleeding equal to the number of allied units. At the end of the turn, boost up by the number of bleeding enemy units. If you have a bleeding-centric deck, like with Unseen Elder, that can be amazing for damage and for boosts. Ritual Dagger, downgrade an allied unit by 2-1, then gain 25 energy. So basically sacrifice one of your units. And if you can then proceed to remove it from your deck, then that's maybe not so bad. Or in case of emergencies, you get the energy. Warlord's Horn. Summon 3 random units from your deck to an allied row. Okay, it's random, but that is a lot of units. And we also, now we're in progress toward Lyrian Scytheman. Boost up by 1 for each boosted allied unit. I think we've seen these in our Bulwark decks before, at least showing up. Or did we? No, we must not have. Keltolis. Oh, what? At the end of your turn, destroy the lowest power unit on the side with the most units. Yeah, it's the same as in multiplayer Gwent. This is, honestly, this might have been a card that I was expecting to be a key card at some point. I expected there to be a control archetype, things with lock and other statuses and what have you, and I would have expected Keltolis to maybe be a key card in that deck, because this card is absolutely something that you build an entire deck around. The fact that it is not a key card and you can't guarantee that you get it at the beginning, and you're maybe going to acquire it mid-run, is probably going to make it difficult to build an entire deck around Kelly. But then Zoltan Scoundrel, we've seen some opponents use this. Either you go melee row, you can damage every unit in a row by 1, or you go range row, you can boost every unit in a row by 1. Then there's Masterful Thunderstorm, which we are not yet even in progress for, but getting closer. Damage all units on an enemy row by 1. If an enemy unit, any enemies were destroyed this way, repeat this ability. Wow. Understandably, that is worth 9, or takes 9 energy, because if you set that up properly, you can just wipe an entire board, or wipe an entire row at least, and not just of 1 power cards, not just of 2 power cards, you could hit every 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 even, if you set it up well. And I believe that was our last mutagen. That it was. So we are ready to take a look at the liquid tanks here. And I mean, let's do it.
A malignant plague, known as the Wheezing Death, had swept through a small hamlet in the hills. Arriving in search of new candidates for his research, Alzor discovered the devastation left in the Scourge's wake. Everyone, it seemed, had already perished, save one. A young boy, sulking amid the corpses of his kin, was somehow still alive, albeit evidently quite sick and deteriorating fast. Without intervention, the boy's fate was surely sealed, and so Alzor, unsure of what else to do, took the orphan with him. Whilst the mage's
maybe take him to like a hospital.
Provide salvation for the ailing child, Alzor did not wish to subject the boy to a painful end if he didn't have to. For days he scoured his mind for a better alternative, but the boy was too far gone, and no other method worked. By the time Alzor decided to proceed with the experiment, the child was at death's door. And so, with utmost delicacy, he sedated the boy and used a careful combination of diluted concoctions. Days of suffering followed, of high fever and vomiting and violent shaking. Yet to Alzor's surprise, the boy's condition finally improved. Better yet, his once frail body showed visible improvements and physical development beyond what a boy of his age should possess. It was a monumental breakthrough, yet the triumph was short-lived. Despite his augmentations, the small boy perished days later, the exact cause of his death a mystery. Though crestfallen, the glimpse of success ignited hope within the exhausted mage, and while he did not yet want to admit it, he had in that moment discovered the secret to a favorable mutation. Youth.
Oh yeah, just abduct more children. And that's apparently the solution. Yeah, does raise some questions, perhaps. Another failed experiment, yes, of sorts, but definitely sounds like we're heading closer. And if our previous successful or completed round of mutations are any indication, then that would suggest that at this point, we can now, for our next run, upgrade the difficulty one level higher. And I think I might have seen it's at this point, might even be up to Master. And I mean, if we're metagaming a little bit here, it sounds like Alzor's getting close, and I believe there are 2 more difficulties, and if every time we, complete a set of mutagens, we unlock 1 more difficulty, that would suggest that we, do 1 more, and we unlock Grandmaster, which I think is the last one, and maybe that means that we've won at that point, or maybe that means there's 1 more after that. But either way, we're getting close. We are getting close, and we have now successfully completed our first run ever with the Chaos deck, and so that means that now truly we can say we've completed a run with every leader on Bulwark, every leader on Savage Fury, every leader on Hive Mind, and even Chaos as well. And not just Chaos with ideal, optimized spell cards, but Chaos with spell cards that were also supposed to be RNG-centric Chaos cards. So somehow, some way, we made that work, and maybe that is truly a minor miracle. But hey, I suppose we'll take it.